A service of KIBMradio.com, the Internet's home for an all old-time radio.
And now the Goldbergs. Sammy Goldberg faced the man who was to be his father-in-law and told him that he couldn't marry Sylvia Allison. And Sammy refused to say more, for saying more meant telling Allison what Sylvia was. It meant telling him how she lied and cheated. It meant telling Allison that he was the victim of Sylvia's ambitions, that she had destroyed her sister Leah's marriage and home, that she had overturned and broken everything in her path to get her father's money and to get Sammy. These were words Sammy refused to utter. Meanwhile, Molly, Jake, and Rosie are waiting in Allison's house for Sammy to come back, for Sammy to return freed forever from Sylvia and all she has meant. Listen.
Do you feel a little better now, Mama darling? Slightly, dear. Extremely slightly. What are you doing, Jake, dear?
Standing by the window.
Oh. Jake, dear, maybe walk over to the store. Because, I mean, whatever Sammy is telling Mr. Allison, he should have been told already.
Molly, please.
Jake, I'm besides myself. Can I help it?
We're all besides ourselves, and will be until relieved. But in the meantime, Molly, don't get historical and don't fall to pieces.
I'm only saying this. I'm only saying, why did you let Sammy go to Allison alone?
Ma, please.
I mean, Jake, alone you shouldn't have let him.
Ma.
I mean, Jake, if I was here, he wouldn't run alone. Jake.
Please. Please.
Very sorry.
Please.
Papa's nervous, too.
Don't worry about Sammy now, Ma.
You don't think so, Rosalie?
No, he's not infatuated anymore.
He's not, huh?
It never was love, Ma.
You don't think so, huh?
No. If Sammy loved Sylvia, if he really loved her, he never would have told Papa everything.
But you think if he really loved her, that he would regardless? I mean, regardless of her lies and her character and her cruelty?
He'd make excuses for her lies, and he wouldn't notice her cruelty.
Oh.
Am I right, Mama darling?
Maybe each one loves in a different way, Nancy. Some who love can forgive everything and anything. They can even forgive losing one they love to somebody else if only the person they love is happy. And some people, when they love, are the opposite, completely the opposite. They can forgive nothing. The smallest thing is too big for pity or forgiveness. And that, too, is love.
But Sammy isn't like either of those people, Ma.
No. Sammy, I think, is just honest. He can forgive what isn't important, and he never can forget what is.
Then we don't have to worry about Sammy.
Maybe not, Sylvia. Maybe not. But that was that. Quickly, Rosalie, go see maybe Sylvia, maybe Miss Allison. Who are you?
Oh, it's Seymour, Ma.
Come in, Seymour. Come in, Seymour.
Just heard the news. Some news, huh? Mr. Goldberg just told me. Going home, huh? Well, it's too bad.
Sit down, Seymour.
I don't want to intrude on your troubles. I know what you feel. But I'll sit down for a few moments. I'm all shaken up myself.
Yes, Seymour.
Thank you, Miss Goldberg. After this is all over, I'll tell you how I felt about it from the beginning. I don't want to talk now, but when we're home away from here, I'll tell you how I never thought she was for Sammy. I'll even show you a copy of a letter that I wrote to my mother with a copy of Kipling's Bone the Vampire. Are you familiar with that literature, Mrs. Goldberg?
No, Seymour.
You must know it, Miss Goldberg. A Regan, a bone, and a hank of hair. We called her a woman who didn't care. But he called her his Lady Fairy and his you and I. Maybe I'm talking too much.
No, Senor.
Maybe you're not even hearing me.
I am.
It's all right. I know how my mother would feel under similar circumstances. And I know how you must feel.
My mother feels all right, Senor. Sammy's coming back with us. I hope so.
I most certainly hope so.
I know so.
And while Seymour quotes from Kipling and Rosie convinces herself that all will be well, while Jake moodily paces the living room of Allison's house, and Molly sits with her heart and soul fixed on Sammy and Sammy only, while all these feelings and thoughts converge on Sammy, he stands facing Mr. Allison in the upstairs office of the department store. Sammy has said, "I'm going to leave without Sylvia. I can't marry your daughter." And Allison wants Sammy to say these words to Sylvia.
Hello, William?
Mr. Allison,
Just a minute, Sammy, please. William, is Sylvia coming up here or not? Please. Sammy, what you told me, you will tell Sylvia.
I intended to.
Right here in my presence.
I don't think I should.
That's the way I want it. You come to me and without any reason you tell me, Mr. Allison, I can't marry your daughter. Am I justified in asking you why?
Not when it's something that concerns Sylvia and myself.
You mean you have a reason and I mustn't know. Well, what is it? You quarreled with Sylvia? All sweethearts quarrel. If you believe the lies my daughter Leah told you, why did you come back?
For this reason.
What reason?
To tell you what I'm telling you now. And because my folks were here.
I see. Then you believe Ed and Leah's lies against Sylvia, who you're supposed to love, who was to be your wife. All right, Sammy. If that's the kind of love you had, then I suppose it's just as well that it's over. Come in, Sylvia. Sylvia, Sammy has something to tell you. Tell Sylvia what you told me.
What did you tell my father, Sammy?
I'm going back with my parents, Sylvia.
Then I'll go with you.
I can't talk to you here, Sylvia.
Sammy! Sammy!
Why isn't Sammy marrying you?
He didn't say that.
To me, he said it.
He didn't say that.
He did, I tell you. Why?
What else did he say?
What else did he have to say, Sylvia? What else is there to say? Why don't you answer me?
Why didn't you ask Sammy? Why are you asking me? You made it very easy for him, didn't you? You let him walk out. Just walk out. And you're going to talk to me with questions. What kind of father are you anyway?
Don't ask me what kind of a father I am. What kind of a daughter are you?
I'm your daughter, that's who I am. And that's what I am.
Sit down.
I won't.
I said sit down. Listen to me, sir. I'm trying to be calm. I'm trying to speak calmly. I'm trying to understand what my mind refuses to believe.
Don't try.
I wasn't going to, but now I have to. I want you to answer me. When Sammy came here, he loved you. He said it. I know it. I could see it. Now he can't even talk to you. What did you do?
Nothing.
Not for nothing did he change. You said Leah lied to him and he believed them and went away.
He came back.
Only to say he was going for good. He came back because he's a man. What were the lies?
You know them as well as I do.
Sylvia, answer me. I cherished and protected you from everything. I gave you everything. I put my life in your hands as my daughter. What happened? What did you do?
Nothing.
Who told the lies?
Why do you keep asking me questions? I won't listen to him. Sammy promised to marry me. Why don't you hold him to his promise?
And force him to marry you?
Yes. Yes.
Why? Why?
Because I'll kill myself to death.
Of that I'm not afraid. Sammy came here because he loved you. He left his home without his parents' consent. That meant he loved you. What happened? That's what I want to know.
I'll tell.
I'm asking you. How much of what Leah and Ed told are lies and how much of the truth?
What are you accusing me of?
What are you guilty of? That's what I want to know. What were you to Ed and what was Ed to you?
Allison stands looking at the closed door. He feels the sting in his hand. In his mind, question. In his mind, question. In his mind, question. In his mind, question. In his mind, questions and answers, lies, terror almost at the hysterical confession Sylvia has made.
Dragnet.
Ladies and gentlemen, the story you are about to hear is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent. You're a detective sergeant. You're assigned to robbery detail. You get a call that a well-dressed man has held up a diamond merchant. He's escaped into the crowded streets of your city. Your job? Get him.
Dragnet, the documented drama of an actual crime. For the next 30 minutes, in cooperation with the Los Angeles Police Department, you will travel step by step on the side of the law through an actual case transcribed from official police files. From beginning to end, from crime to punishment, Dragnet is the story of your police force in action.
It was Tuesday, February 8th. It was cold in Los Angeles. We were working the day watch out of robbery detail. My partner's Frank Smith. The boss is Chief Detective Thad Brown. My name's Frank. I was on my way back from communications, and it was 12:10 p.m. when I got to room 27A. Robbery.
You get the wire off today, Hearn?
Yeah, I should have an answer this afternoon.
If he doesn't come in, we better call him.
Yeah. You want to get something to eat?
Yeah, it's about that time. Where do you want to go?
No, how about the stakeout?
Good. I could use a couple enchiladas.
Get your hat.
You want to tag the skipper before we leave?
No, he's not in. I saw him go out with Chief Brown. We can talk to him when we get back, huh?
Right.
Let's go. It's a hot one. I'll get it.
Thoth?
Yeah, diamond merchant just hit for a load of unset diamonds.
Big score?
It'd buy a group of enchiladas.
Huh?
$80,000 worth. Frank and I left the city hall and drove over to the address we'd gotten on the hotshot phone. It was a large office building on Hope Street. From the lobby register, we found that the victim, a Mr. George Mars, occupied suite 318. We checked with the uniformed officers who answered the call, and then we went upstairs to talk with Mars.
Well, I tell you, officer, there wasn't anything about him that'd make a person think he was a holdup man.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing.
Do you want to tell us exactly what happened?
Well, sure. There's not much to talk about. I was sitting here looking at the papers, checking the sales.
What's that?
Dollar Day.
Oh,
I figured maybe I could get a good buy on some suits. I've been needing them. Figured maybe I could pick up a couple on sale. Not for $1, you know, but on sale.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Well, just sitting here reading the paper, and all of a sudden the door opens, and in comes this fellow.
Mm-hmm.
Nice looking. Sure, no reason to think there was anything wrong.
Yeah.
Told me he wanted to see some diamonds on set.
Mm-hmm. You say why you wanted to see him?
Yeah, something about opening a store up in the valley someplace around Sacramento.
Oh, yeah.
I felt kind of good. You know, to think a man had come all the way down here to look at the stones I've got.
Did you say why he did that?
No, I didn't ask. Lots of times that happens. Been in business quite a while. Word gets around.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, the man said he wanted to see some stones. I went back to the safe to get them.
Yeah.
Picked up several trays and brought them out here. When I took another look, he was sitting right there. There, holding a gun.
Mm-hmm.
Just as calm as can be, pointing the old gun right at me.
Did he say anything to you?
Told me to put the diamonds on the counter, not to make any noise. Said if I played it smart, I wouldn't get hurt.
Yeah.
I wish you could have seen this fellow. Just as calm as could be, he reached in his pocket, took out a pair of gloves, put them on. Then he scooped all the diamonds into a little bag he was carrying and told me to get into the back room.
Yeah.
Made me lay down on the floor, and then he locked the door. Told me not to make any noise. Said to count to 100 by ones before I tried to yell.
Mm-hmm.
Well, after he locked the door, I heard him leave the office. I started counting.
All right, Mr. Mars, can you give us a description of the man?
Outside of the fact he had the gun, I can't tell you anything about him. I've been trying to pull a picture out of my head, but there just isn't anything.
Well, maybe we can help you.
Go ahead. I don't think it'll do any good.
All right, let's start with his age. How old was he?
I don't know. Medium, I guess.
30, 35? Older, younger?
I don't know.
How tall was he?
Oh, I guess you'd say he was... I don't know.
Well, when you looked at him, did he seem to be larger or smaller than yourself?
About the same.
Well, then he'd be about, 5'10", 11?
I guess so. I don't remember.
What about his face? Can you tell us anything about that?
Nope.
Do you have a mustache?
Might have.
But you aren't sure.
No.
Wear glasses?
I don't remember.
Well, now, think real carefully. Is there anything at all that you can remember about him?
Yeah, but it's kind of silly.
Well, what is it?
When I came back with the diamonds and he was holding the gun, I noticed his hands.
Yeah?
His fingernails were manicured.
Yeah?
Yeah, real clean and with some kind of polish on them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think so.
Like that?
Mm-hmm.
I'll check with the fellows outside, Joe. Maybe they came up with something.
Okay.
Mr. Smith?
Yes, sir?
I'm sure sorry about this not being able to help more.
Well, don't worry about it, Mr. Mars.
I'm sure sorry.
I'll be right back, Joe.
All right.
You have a cigarette, Mr. Friday?
Yeah. Here you go.
Thanks.
Here's a light.
I got it. This kind of thing happen to you often?
How do you mean?
Oh, where somebody's robbed and can't remember what the hold-up man looked like?
Once in a while.
Well, what do you do about it?
Try to find another way.
You usually find one?
Most of the time.
John?
Yeah.
See you, man.
Yeah. What do you got?
Well, I checked with the men in the radio unit.
Yeah.
They got a guy downstairs. We better talk to him.
Suspect?
No, eyewitness.
Frank and I went down to the lobby of the building, and we met with the uniformed officers who'd answered the call. They introduced us to Stanley Markin. Markin said he'd seen the hold-up man.
And I did. Saw him plain as anything.
When was that, sir?
Yeah? Wasn't right after he held up old Mars.
Where'd you see him?
Hall, right outside the office, right in front of the door, practically.
Mm-hmm.
On the way to my place, and this man come out of Mars. Roaring.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So he opened the door and bam, right into me, like to knock me down. Really roaring.
Mm-hmm.
Had this little black leash, you know, about this big.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Had a death grip on it.
Well, did you get a good look at the man?
Closer than I am to you, one right into me. Thought sure I was going to end up on the floor. Yeah.
Can you give us a description?
Sure. What do you want to know?
What do you look like?
Nothing special, just a run-of-the-mill crook. Seen one, seen them all.
Okay. How old was he?
Oh, guess about 28, maybe 30, around in there.
How tall?
Like you.
Maybe about 6 feet.
Well, that's what you are?
Yes, sir, pretty close.
Yeah.
How was he built?
Medium. Didn't seem to have a lot of beef, just average.
Uh-huh. How was he dressed?
Had a gray suit on, dark gray, little red pattern going through it.
Single or double-breasted?
Single.
Uh-huh. What color shirt?
White, blue tie. One of them new ones, you know, little thin kind, you know, little bitty knot. Had one of them bar things through the collar, holes in, you know.
Uh-huh.
Square ends.
What's that?
On the bar. Square ends, not round like most of them. Square,
I see. Was he wearing a hat?
Yeah. Blue Homburg, dark. Had it kind down over one eye. Looked real rakish, like a spy.
Mm-hmm. Was he clean-shaven?
Yeah. How do you mean?
Did he have a mustache?
No, didn't.
Was he wearing glasses?
Not that I saw. Might have had them, but he wasn't wearing them.
Did he say anything to you?
Not a peep. He just wham, and then he took off. Made me real mad. Guy almost knocks you down, then doesn't even say he's sorry.
Uh-huh.
He took off, and when I thought about it, I went after him.
Did you see if he was carrying a gun?
I just told you I went after him.
Yes, sir.
I'm not a coward, but I ain't no fool either. I'd have seen a gun, I wouldn't have gone near him.
Yes, sir.
Guy didn't even wait for the elevators. Just run off the stairs. Fire exit, you know.
Yeah.
Down 3 stories. All the way by stairs. Till it almost got me, but I was so sore about being run into, and then no apology, just nothing. I went after him.
Yes.
We got to the lobby, and he went out on the street. Thought I had him sure there. Place was all crowded. The dollar day, you know.
Yeah, we know.
Didn't think he'd be able to run far with all them people.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't.
What's that?
He didn't run very far. Only to the curb, and he jumped in a taxi.
Yeah.
Cab took off. I tried to get there before it left, but didn't make it. Too many crowds.
Mm-hmm.
I got the number of the cab he took, got it written down in my office.
Can we go up and get it?
Sure. Scientifics come out yet?
What's that?
Scientifics, you know, fingerprints and all. They come yet?
No, not yet.
Well, they get here, and it'll be toodaloo to him. Them guys in their machine, just a matter of dropping a few cards in some gadget, and ping, there's the name.
Yes, sir. Well, it'll be a little more than that.
Yeah, that's what you think. Soon as the scientifics get here, have them come and see me, first thing.
You bet.
Give him something to really work on.
What do you mean?
Yeah, good start on who the fella is.
What's that?
When he bumped into me upstairs, he dropped his hat, flew right off his head. Guy didn't stop to pick it up. I got it. It's a good one.
Uh-huh.
Got his name in it.
12:32 p.m. The crew from the crime lab arrived and started their investigation of the office where the robbery had taken place. Frank and I got the description of the thief out, and then we started to check on the cab number. The suspect's hat was turned over to the crime lab. When Frank and I looked at it, we found the initials TR on the inner band and the name of a men's store in Las Vegas, Nevada. Lieutenant Lee Jones said they'd run a check on it for us. The stats office started a run on the M.O. and the description. Both the victim and Stanley Markin were taken to the city hall to look through the mug books for a possible identification. At 1:26 p.m., we obtained the name of the cab driver who picked up the suspect. The company told us that his regular stand was at the corner of 6th and Broadway. When we got there, the driver was out on a call. We waited until 2:14 p.m. when he returned.
Yeah, I remember him. Picked him up in front of the Jerks building.
That's right. Now, can you tell us where you took him?
Not right off. It should be on the way bill, though.
Would you check for it?
Sure, just a minute. I'll get it.
Be a nice break if he's got it.
Yeah. Yeah, here it is. I picked him up at 12:06 and dropped him at the Toddle Inn bar over on Fig.
Did he go in the place?
Yeah, I was making out the log. I saw him.
Did he say anything to you on the way over?
No, nothing special. Seemed kind of nervous, kept looking back. I figured there was something wrong, but you get so many crackpots in this business, you can't take time to worry about all of them.
Mm-hmm.
So what'd he do?
Feel a little better if we talk to him about that.
Yeah, sure. Oh, one thing he said might help you out.
What's that?
Well, he wanted to know where he could get an airline schedule.
Yeah.
Said he was anxious to get out of town.
The cab driver verified the description of the suspect. We put in a call to the airport detail and gave them the suspect's description. The bus depots and railroad terminals were also alerted. 2:47 p.m. We drove over to the Toddle Inn bar.
Hi. What'll it be?
Police officers. Want to ask you a couple questions?
Nothing wrong, is there?
I'd like you to tell us.
Well, look around. You won't find nothing out of line. It's a clean place.
Mm-hmm. Who's been in here this morning?
Huh?
How many people have been here?
Well, just a couple. It's kind of slow. Why?
We're looking for a man about 28 or 30, 6 feet tall, medium build, wearing a dark gray suit. The way we got it, he was in here about 12:15, 12:30.
Today?
That's right.
What's he done?
Was he here?
I don't want any trouble.
You're saying it the wrong way. Now, was the man in here?
Yeah?
Who is he?
I don't know.
You want us to buy that?
It's the way it is. If you don't like the color, shove off.
No, you don't mean that, do you?
Look, cop, the door was open when you came in. No lock. Same way when he was here. Came in, had a drink, that's it. You try to build any more, you're going to find out you lost the paddle.
Get your coat.
Huh?
You heard me. Move.
What are you going to do, take me downtown?
That's it.
Gotta get somebody to watch your place.
We'll wait.
Look, it doesn't seem very fair.
How do you mean that?
I didn't have part of the action.
Well, why don't you tell us?
The guy came in, he ordered bourbon and milk. He sat there and drank it. Had a couple more and left. Doesn't mean anything to me.
And why you stand in front of him?
I don't know. The place is clean. I like to keep it that way.
Who is he?
Look, I tell you true, I can't pull up a name.
Well, now, suppose you try.
Tom something.
Is he in here often?
A couple times a week.
What's the attraction?
Look, why don't you tell me what it's all about? Maybe we can make a deal.
We don't need you on our side.
Why does he come in?
To see Alex.
Who's she?
Waitress.
What's her last name?
Goldbergs.
She go with this fella?
I don't know if it's serious. They've been out a couple of times, dinner and a show.
Where do we find her?
I guess she's home. She don't come to work till 4:30.
You got her address?
It's in the book.
Get it.
No other way?
Get it.
Okay.
Does Tom make a phone call while he was here?
No.
What do you have to say to you?
He told me just wound up a deal. He did pretty good on it. Said he was going home.
You live in town?
Not regular. He's from, I don't know, Nevada, I think.
You say where?
Well, he mentioned some small town, a Boulder City, I think. It's not a street or anything there.
You want to get the girl's address?
Yeah. I hope you understand about before.
What do you mean?
Why I wouldn't go with you from the front.
Tell us.
Well, it's Alice.
Yeah.
She'd be in real trouble if it got out she was seeing Tom.
Why?
I don't think her husband would go for it.
We called the name and description of the waitress into R&I, but we found there was no record on her. Frank and I left the bar and went over to her home. It was a run-down apartment building on Court Street. We checked with the manager, and she told us that the girl's husband left about 9:30 that morning. She went on to say that Alice Colbar seldom left the place before 3:30, and that as far as she knew, she was still at home. Frank and I went up to talk to her.
Probably asleep, huh?
Mm-hmm. Miss Colbar.
The door open?
Yeah. You got your flashlight?
Yeah, here.
Miss Colbar? Throw the light over there, Frank, in the corner near the bed.
I'll call an ambulance.
Yeah. Tell them to step on her.
How's she look?
Like she's dead. From the appearance of the room, there'd been a fight. Furniture was overturned, lamps were broken, several bottles had apparently been smashed against the walls. The body of Alice Colbar was lying on the floor near the bed. Her face was buried in the pillows if she'd used it to ward off additional blows from her attacker. An ambulance crew arrived, and she was removed to Georgia Street Receiving Hospital for treatment. A thorough search of the room failed to turn up anything to lead to the identity of the person who'd beaten her. We talked to the landlady again, and we found that Irvin Colbar, the victim's husband, was employed at a golf driving range out in the valley. We checked the name and description through the record section, and we found that he had one arrest for drunk driving. He'd been fined and placed on probation. 4:26 p.m. Frank and I drove out to talk to him.
I knew you'd be here.
Is that right?
How's that?
Pretty rough.
I don't know. Just all of a sudden there was a beef, and I hit her.
With what?
My hands.
What started the argument?
Tom.
Who's he?
Friend of Alice's.
You know his last name?
No, I never even met him.
All right, tell us about it, will you?
What you don't know already? Everybody else does.
Go ahead.
Been going together for a couple of months. Alice works at a bar. Tom came in all the time. I guess it got pretty serious.
Yeah.
I went by the place last night, going to pick her up after work. She was gone. Bartender there told me she'd left with this fellow, Tom.
Mm-hmm.
I got pretty sore. You can figure what it's like finding your wife running around with another man.
Yeah.
I had a couple of drinks. Trying to think what to do. Right then, I wanted to kill both of them. A couple of guys in the bar tried to calm me down. I guess I got pretty loaded. One of them took me to his place. I spent the night there.
Mm-hmm.
Woke up this morning, went home. Now, you got to believe me, I wasn't real sore anymore. Mad, yeah, but not so I was going to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
Alice was asleep when I got there. I woke her up, told her I knew all about her and Tom.
Yeah.
Kind of thought she'd be sorry, say she was wrong, something like that.
Uh-huh.
She wasn't. Told me how her and Tom were in love and that she wanted a divorce so they could get married. Tried to talk to her, tell her how I loved her. Didn't do any good. She said we were all through, for me to pack my things and get out. I guess that's when I hit her. I don't know. All of a sudden, I wanted to smash her. That's all there is.
You ever met this Tom?
No.
How about the other guys in the bar? They know him?
To talk to. I think that's about it.
Any idea where he lived?
No. Tried to find out last night. None of the people around the place know. If I found out, I'd kill him.
All right, you better get your coat.
Yeah. What are they going to do to me?
That's not up to us.
I didn't kill her, though, huh?
She's still in critical condition.
Guess it doesn't make a difference anyway. We only been married a couple of years. Won't be much without her. Never figured it'd end up like this.
Mm-hmm.
I really loved her. Done anything in the world to make her happy. How do you answer it?
What's that?
Why she did it.
I wouldn't know.
I asked her, she wouldn't tell me. Just said it was over. She wouldn't give me one reason.
All right, come on, let's go.
Can I see her?
We'll check on it.
I want to ask her, find out why. Maybe she'll tell me now.
Yeah, she can hear you. Irvin Colbar was taken to the main jail and booked in on charges of suspicion of violation of Section 245 PC, assault with a deadly weapon. We put in a call to Georgia Street Receiving Hospital, and we found that the Colbar woman had been removed to the county hospital. She was still unconscious. We made arrangements to be called in the event she was able to be questioned. 6:45 p.m. We talked to Lieutenant Lee Jones. He told us that the lab had been unable to come up with any useful information at the scene of the crime. He said that they'd identified the manufacturer of the hat that the suspect had worn, and they gave us their local address. He went on to say, however, that hairs found on the lining of the hat would act as corroborative evidence if the suspect were apprehended. We put in a call to the hat company, but we found that their offices were closed. We contacted the Las Vegas Police Department and asked them to check on the store who'd sold the garment. We gave them a complete description of the suspect and the initials TR with the possible first name of Tom. They said they'd call back the next morning with whatever information they could obtain. Wednesday, February 9th, we got word from County Hospital that Mrs. Alice Colbar had died in her sleep without regaining consciousness. The case was turned over to homicide officers for completion. Additional teams of men were sent out to the bar where she was employed in an effort to find some trace of the missing suspect. 11:15 a.m.
Robert Smith. Yeah. Yeah, I'm the one to talk to you. Mm-hmm. Yeah, what'd they say? Yeah. How many? Uh-huh. It looks pretty good, huh? What about a record? Yeah. Okay. 1864? 54? Right. Yeah, I got it. Yeah. We'll let you know. Thanks for the help. Bye. Las Vegas.
What do you got?
Well, I checked with the clothing store where the hat was bought.
Mm-hmm.
It's a new model, only been out a couple of months.
They remember the guy who bought it?
Yeah. Description didn't mean anything, but the initials did. Clerk said the hat was bought by Thomas Rourke.
Vegas got anything on him?
Yeah, a couple of arrests for robbery.
Do any big time?
No, the cases wouldn't hold.
They know where he is?
They got an idea.
Yeah.
He's supposed to live out in Covina.
Frank and I checked the name Thomas Rourke through R&I, and we found one assault arrest on a man answering his description. The mug shots were pulled and shown to the robbery victim and the witness. Both of them gave us positive identifications. We contacted the Covina Police Department and told them what had happened. They assured us a complete cooperation. Along with Officers J.J. O'Donnell and Sergeant Jim Austin, Frank and I left the office to take the suspect into custody. We met with officers from the Covina PD, and we drove to 1854 Eldred Avenue. It was a small redwood house set well back on the lot. In the driveway was a late model Plymouth coupe. From the street, there was no sign of life. The shades were drawn, and the front porch was covered with advertising newspapers. While O'Donnell and Austin covered the rear of the house, Frank and I went up to the front door. You all set?
Yeah. No one here.
All right, take that sucker.
Right. Nothing out back. How you doing?
Wait a minute. Closet.
I give up, don't you?
Go on out there.
Yes, sir. I'll do like you say. No trouble, sir, please. No trouble.
Keep those hands where I can see them.
Yes, sir. Just like you say.
Now, turn around. Hands on the wall. Quick.
Yes, sir.
Come on, move.
You won't find anything. Haven't done anything wrong. You got the wrong man.
Yeah, sure.
I'm telling you the truth, sir. I wouldn't lie.
All right, come on, let's go.
Yes, sir. I get a coat.
Point it out.
In the closet. Great.
I'll get it.
What's this all about, sir?
You don't need a picture.
I'm afraid I do. I don't know why you're doing this.
That's your car in the driveway?
Yes, sir.
You live here alone?
No, sir. This is my sister's house.
Where's she?
Working, sir.
Here, stick it on. Let's go.
Can I get a hat?
Don't bother.
Huh?
We got one that'll fit you. The suspect was taken to the city hall and questioned. For an hour, he maintained that he didn't know anything about the diamond robbery. While Frank and I were talking to him, the other officers were making a thorough search of his sister's house and her grounds. 3:15 p.m., we got word that the diamonds had been found in the backyard of the place. When he was confronted with this information, the suspect made a full confession. 6:08 p.m., he'd just finished giving us a statement. All right. This is a true statement, is it?
Yes, sir.
You make it without promises of reward or immunity. There's been no force exerted on you. You give this statement of your own free will, right?
Yeah.
All right. Here. Here's a pen. Sign all copies.
Too bad about Alice.
Yeah.
Nice kid. Got too serious, though.
Is that so?
Yep. Yeah, I talked all the time about how she was going to leave her husband, how we were going to get married.
Sign all copies, fellow.
Yeah.
And this one here. Get this one here.
She knew I was going back to Nevada. Wanted me to take her.
Mm-hmm.
Silly.
Yeah.
Nothing between us. A little flirtation. You know, something to kill time. She didn't mean anything to me. Nothing at all.
Want to give me that pen?
Yeah. I wouldn't have married her on a bet. I'll tell you that for true.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't mean a thing to me. You ought to believe it.
Look, fella, you don't have to convince us.
Huh?
We'll let you talk to her husband.
Ladies and gentlemen, the story you have just heard is true. The names were changed to protect the innocent.
On June 9th, trial was held in Department 98, Superior Court of the State of California, in and for the County of Los Angeles. Thomas Emery Rourke was tried and convicted of robbery in the first degree and received sentence as prescribed by law. Robbery in the first degree is punishable by imprisonment in the state penitentiary for a period of not less than 5 years. Irvin Franklin Colbar was tried and convicted of murder in the second degree and was sentenced to the state penitentiary for a period of from 5 years to life.
You have just heard Dragnet, the authentic story of your police force in action, and starring Jack Webb, a presentation of the United States Armed Forces Radio Service.
Columbia Broadcasting System and its affiliated stations presents Escape, a new series of programs of which this, the sixth, is The Ring of Thoth by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, produced and directed by William N. Robeson. Wherever the English language is spoken, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle is known for two things: his immortal character, Sherlock Holmes, and his unshakable belief in life beyond the grave. So great is the stature of Sherlock Holmes that Conan Doyle's earlier stories are all but forgotten. Stories like The Ring of Thoth, which so clearly anticipates the author's later fascination with spiritualism. We invite you now to escape to ancient Egypt and The Ring of Thoth, an adventure told in the words of John Vansittart Smith, British Egyptologist.
I arrived in Paris on the 3:14 express from Dieppe and went immediately to my hotel in the Rue de Lafitte. My actions so far had worked out according to my planned schedule. I slept for exactly 2 hours, got up and dressed, donned a greatcoat, walked down the Avenue de l'Opéra, and entered the side door of the Louvre. Once inside, and amid surroundings entirely familiar to me, I made my way immediately to the Chamber of Egyptian Relics, or more specifically, to the cabinet in that chamber which contained the El Kab collection of papyri. Drawing out the particular roll I wished, I placed it on a nearby table, sat down, began to study it, when I noticed one of the museum attendants who was polishing some brasswork across the room. His face struck me as being curiously Egyptian. On sudden impulse, I decided to cross the room and speak to him. Approaching closer, I was impressed at once by the appearance of his skin. Drawn tautly across temple and cheek, it seemed as glazed and as shiny as varnished parchment, and out of narrowed slits there glowed two green and vitreous eyes, misty with a dry shininess, eyes of a kind never seen in a human head before. I beg your pardon. I need one of the papyri from the Memphis collection. Could you tell me where it is?
You'll find it in the last cabinet at the end of the room, monsieur.
Thank you. You're Egyptian, aren't you?
No, monsieur. I am a Frenchman.
But, I thought perhaps...
If monsieur will excuse me now, I have other work to do.
I went back to the table and took up the papyrus I had been studying before. But my former calmness in translating the intricate hieroglyphics was gone, and out of the depths of my mind welled a feeling of terrible familiarity. I concentrated more deeply on my studies, pushing aside those thoughts conducive to mental turmoil, and at last, worn out by the inward struggle, I fell asleep. I awoke with a start, not remembering where I was. It was quite dark for a moment. Then gradually my eyes focused on the glints of moonlight reflected from the glass tops of specimen tables, from the shiny varnish of the mummy cases. And I realized with a feeling of sudden dread that I was alone in the Egyptian room of the Museum of the Louvre, locked in for the night. Saw at that moment, approaching through the moonlit halls, a dim yellow flame. Nearer and nearer it came until I could perceive above it, as though floating in the air, the eerie, glistening face of the man I'd spoken to earlier. I shrank into the dark shadow of my corner, and he passed without seeing me, stopping before the mummy cases a few yards away. Scarcely daring to breathe, I watched him place the light on a table and begin feverishly to examine the tags on the specimens. In a moment, he gave a cry of delight, and, drawing one of the mummies from its resting place, laid it on the table in the full glow of the lantern, and set to work. He was unwinding the wrappings from the head of the corpse. A few turns revealed a tumbled cascade of black curls. A few more, the snow-white brow, then the delicate nostrils, and at last, The full, warm, passionate lips. The face of the most beautiful woman the world has ever seen.
Ah, ma pauvre petite. So long it has been. So very long. You must forgive me, beloved.
I could hardly believe my eyes. The man was obviously in love with this mummy. After a while, he left the body, turning his attention to one of the glass cases filled with an assortment of rings. From the pocket of his garment, he'd taken a small glass bottle containing some kind of liquid, and he used this now to test the rings, rejecting them one after another. Then, at last...
This is it. It's the one. At last I found it. The ring of Thoth.
In his excitement, he dropped the bottle, and I gasped in surprise at the sudden sound.
Who's there?
I beg your pardon.
Ah. So it is you. No, do not move.
I didn't mean to spy on you. I fell asleep.
Who are you, monsieur?
I am John Van Tittart Smith, a student of Egyptology.
No matter. You will observe this knife.
Yes.
Had I discovered you 5 minutes ago, monsieur, I should have slain you without a word.
What?
As it is now, I have found the ring. But I warn you not to interfere with me in any way.
I really haven't the slightest intention of it. After all, I'm only here by accident.
Perhaps.
I say, you shouldn't have unwrapped that mummy, you know. It's starting to deteriorate already.
Oh, my beloved.
Yes, before our eyes, the lovely face was crumbling, the hair falling away, the skin shriveling and cracking, the lips fading. The man hovered over the decaying body a moment, murmuring sorrowfully. And then he turned again.
No matter. That will not make the least difference in a little while. Of what importance is the dead shell, so long as her spirit waits for me at the other side of the veil?
What are you talking about? What is it you're proposing to do?
Tonight, monsieur, I have ended a quest and broken at last the ancient curse. Nothing now can prevent my joining her.
Are you actually claiming that you knew her?
She was Atma, daughter of the governor of Abaris. And both she and I lived in the reign of Tutmosis 3,500 years ago.
You're obviously mad.
Perhaps, but not in the way you think. There may be design in this, your coming here. It may be decreed that I should leave some account behind as a warning to other mortals as rash as myself. Very well, then. So be it. I am, as you surmised, an Egyptian. My name was Sasra, and my father had been the chief priest of Osiris in the great temple of Abaris, which stood in those days upon the Bubastic branch of the Nile. I was brought up in the temple and was trained in all those mystic arts and sciences known to the priesthood. Of all the mysteries that I studied, none intrigued me more than the question of life and death. And even to this question, in time, I found an answer.
But for a man to live beyond his allotted span of years, Master Sastra, the gods have not so ordained it.
Then perhaps they will have to revise their ordinances, now that I've discovered their secret.
'Tis not well to jest. I tremble, for though I've labored in your service for a year, I knew not the goal of your endeavors. May Osiris forgive me.
Ah, what a pity you look upon it this way. For I'd thought that in return for your assistance, I should grant you, too, the gift of centuries of indestructible life.
I would not have it, Master Sastra. And I beg that you, too, forgo it.
Forgo it? I introduced the fluid into my veins 1 month ago.
Oh, no. Then you are lost indeed.
Lost? Do you call this being lost? Let's see now. My heart should be about here.
Oh, that knife. No, don't. Master, you've killed yourself.
Not at all. See? It bleeds a little. But in a while, the wound will close up. And that's all.
It's immortality.
No. I shall not live forever. But for 5,000, perhaps 6,000 years, I shall be immune from all dangers of violence, poison, disease, starvation.
You cannot die?
Now, with this fluid in my veins, nothing in this world can end my life.
Doctor, are you there?
Someone called.
It's Parmes, the priest of Thoth. In here, my friend. Enter.
Oh. Greetings, Sosra, master of sciences, and his worthy assistant.
If you will excuse me, masters, I go to make my peace with Osiris.
What's wrong with your helper, Sosra?
The thought of a well-nigh eternal life has frightened him into gibbering superstition.
Then you still believe in the discovery?
Believe in it? Parmes, my friend. Look.
By the heavens, what a scar.
It pierces the heart. It was done only a moment ago with this knife. See? I can put it back in the wound. So.
You suffered no ill effects?
None whatever.
And if I turn the knife in the wound, that would do you no harm?
You may try it. I feel nothing. I walked last week in the snake pits by the river, was struck innumerable times. It caused no harm.
By the great Anubis.
Will you have it then? Out of all Egypt, I have chosen only you, my friend, to share the gift. But the choice is yours.
I'd be a fool to refuse, Sosra. I'll have it. And now, what must I do?
First, we must open a vein in your wrist. Like this. Then, we drip the elixir slowly into your bloodstream. Steady now.
I don't feel anything.
There is no sensation. It is done.
So simple? There is nothing more?
That's all. And now done, it can never be changed.
It seems incredible, supernatural.
It's no more than a chemical discovery, but with it, while all this about us passes away, you and I, Parmes, will live on for 50 centuries. Think of it, my friend. 5,000 years of life.
5,000 years. Only the two of us.
Listen, that noise. Some procession must be passing in the street.
I have an idea what it may be. Come on over to the window.
Beloved of heaven, clear the road, stand back, and make way for the loveliest pearl of deep.
She's being carried on the shoulders of slaves, Parmes. She must be some woman of rank.
Her name is Atma. She's the daughter of the new governor.
The curtains are drawn back. Perhaps we'll have a look at her. Oh, Parmes.
Is she not beautiful?
She is the most desirable, the only utterly desirable woman I've ever seen in my life.
Yes, I saw her yesterday at the temple.
Then you're most fortunate, my friend. You've had 24 more hours to dream about her than I've had. I must know her, Parmes. I must make her love me. I'll send gifts. I'll call on her tomorrow. Oh, it has to be done. I couldn't wait any longer than tomorrow.
A visitor calls upon the beloved of the universe. He is Sasra, priest of the temple of Osiris.
Well, bid him approach.
Enter, Sasra.
Oh, most beautiful of all Egypt, I cast myself at your feet.
That's a noble ambition. But wouldn't it be much better to sit here beside me and watch the fish in the fountain?
Much better.
You will all withdraw, except you, my girl. Play something for us, at a distance. Well, Sasra, for so I understand you're called, am I to deem this an official visit by a master of the temple?
Oh, Atma, my beloved. That is, no, it is not official.
Oh?
Perhaps then you wish to see my father on personal business of your own.
Oh, no. No. I shall pay my respects to him at some other time.
Then could it be I you've come to see?
Yes.
And since you've said the visit's not official, your reason must be a personal one.
Oh, it is.
Well, what is it?
Atma, I have known women who are famed for their beauty throughout the valley of the Nile. But not one, not all of them, are so lovely as you.
How thoughtful of you to come here and tell me.
Atma, I've no wish to intrude my desires, my hopes, beyond such extent as you may wish to hear. But, I'm finding this very difficult.
Sasha, I've been told that you're a master of science, that you've unlocked the secrets of the universe, learned all the mysteries of nature itself.
Your informants have been most generous.
Yes, I'm inclined to think so.
What?
Because you've discovered nothing at all about such a simple thing as a woman's heart.
What do you mean?
I come from Thebes. And the women of Thebes are warm-blooded, passionate, and will know what we want.
Atma.
I saw you first 3 days ago. Why do you think I told my bearers to carry me down that street beneath your window?
Miracle of all miracles, Atma loved me. Worshipping the very ground her feet had trod upon, I lived through those glorious weeks, and with it all, our love grew apace. But one thing bore heavily upon my mind, and I came to speak of it more often to my beloved as we sat and talked by the fountain in her garden.
Look, Sasha. See how the stars shine from the water?
Yes, Atma. More lovely even than their glow in the heavens.
Are they very old, the stars?
Very old, beloved. As old as time.
And they'll go on gleaming there, long years after you and I are gone and forgotten.
Atma, my dearest, we've talked of this before, and I know it distresses you to think of it.
No, Sastra. Tonight everything is beautiful. We shall not talk of death.
Not of death, but of life. They're only counterparts of one another.
Oh, if we could only live together. Grow old together and die in the same instant.
But how much better to live and love 5,000 years. Will you not do it? Does so long a time seem too great for the love you feel for me?
Beloved, no. The time would pass in an instant, and the loss then be no easier borne than now.
Then why draw back? Will you not take the elixir now, tonight?
I'm afraid, Sasra. We'll anger the gods.
We will outlive the gods.
They will have their revenge.
Whatever occurred, we'd be together.
Yes, I've thought of that. Were it not so, I'd not even consider doing it.
Then you'll do it. Atma, you'll do it.
I need more time, only a little more to assure myself.
How much?
Tonight, Sasra. Give me tonight.
Every hour you live without the elixir is another hazard. All right, then. Tonight. And may Isis herself guard over you until the fluid courses in your veins. And so, on that accursed night, I went to my chambers and slept. And while I slept, the moon of Isis shone over the delta of the Nile. Shone but to light as foul a scene as was ever done on earth. Some hours had passed away.
Master Sasha, awaken! Master, awaken at once.
You know, who is it?
Oh, what a terrible thing has transpired this night.
You're one of Atma's slaves. Why do you come here?
Oh, Master.
What has happened? What's the matter? Speak.
It is she, the light of the world.
Tell me what has happened to her.
Master. Brigands came in the night. She is dead.
You lie. Oh,
Sasra, the slave speaks the truth.
Parmes, my friend. What foul joke's behind these words of his?
It's not a joke. Atma is dead. You, slave, depart from us.
Yes, Master. By your gracious leave, I depart.
Such a thing cannot be. Oh, of course. The two of you planned it together, sought to frighten me out of my wits. It's very amusing, really. But I was terrified for a moment.
Atma no longer lives. She was stabbed to death only a short while ago.
No. Oh, no. She can't be dead.
She is dead, Sosra, and for all eternity.
I must go to her. Surely something can be done.
I killed her.
What is it? What has happened?
I killed her.
Oh.
I struck her through the heart with this very knife.
You, Parmes. Why?
Because she loved you.
Why?
And because I loved her.
You, my friend.
She would not look at me.
And for that you would lose her to both of us forever?
To both of us, Sosra? I think not.
By the living Osiris, give me that knife.
That's it. Strike. Again. Here's the heart. Here, strike. Again and again, Sosra.
Wait. What foolishness. I cannot kill you.
You're wrong, Sosra. You have killed me. Those were grievous blows.
But the fluid, that cursed elixir of life, it runs in your veins as well as mine.
True. But in mine is also the antidote.
You lie. There is no antidote.
Yes, day and night. These many weeks I've worked. And I found it.
You couldn't have. Is there more of it?
Yes, a very little. But you'll never find it.
Where is it? Tell me where it is.
In the ring, Sasha. In the ring of Thoth. And you'll never find it.
I will. I must.
Go on. Live your 50 centuries. And every hour of them, think. It was your hand that struck me down. With the same knife that took her from you. Think while I go to join her.
Oh, no. You're not dead. You're not. No. 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 For months, I searched the papers, test tubes, and the chemical flasks in the chambers of the dead priest of Thoth. Searched and found nothing. I sifted the sands where he'd walked, questioned his slaves and servants, and learned nothing. Every moment of my life, my terrible and unwanted life, was devoted to an unceasing hunt for the ring of Thoth, and all to no avail. And in time, a horde of barbarians overran the city of Abaris. In the sands of the desert, buried forever the last of my hopes. And so began the deadly march of the centuries. How can you know how terrible a thing time is? You, who've experienced only the narrow course between the cradle and the grave. I've floated down the whole stream of history. I have traveled in all lands, and I have dwelt with all nations. Every tongue is the same to me. I need not tell you how slowly the centuries drifted by. Centuries without end. Years without number. And so, I came to be one day, a few weeks past, in San Francisco, where I came across a certain item in a newspaper.
Among recent discoveries in Lower Egypt is an unopened mummy case containing, according to the inscription on the outside, the body of the daughter of the governor of Abaris in the days of Thutmosis. In the same burial crypt, dropped into a crevice between the stones, was found a large platinum ring of singular design. Both specimens have been sent for examination to the Louvre in Paris.
So, I presume you came here to Paris, obtained this position of attendant in the Louvre with the idea of...
Only yesterday, Monsieur Smith. As you may imagine, I had little difficulty in convincing the director of my knowledge of Egyptian relics.
The ring, then. The one I saw you remove from the case is the ring of Thoth?
Without question.
You've discovered how the ring must be used?
The secret is obvious. See, the stone is hollow, and drops of liquid move within it.
Have you considered the possibility that this antidote may not perform the function which has been claimed for it?
It will, monsieur. And there'll be no need of a knife to strike me down. My death was due in a time long past. And only this damnable fluid that runs through my veins supports the weight of my years. I delay no longer. I go to join her where she waits for me in death.
No, don't.
Oh. Too late. I've broken the gem. I've taken the antidote.
I stood and watched him with a terrible fascination, but without pity and without compassion. He turned away from me and reeled toward the mummy he'd left on the table across the room. But even as he turned, the parchment skin of his face cracked and shredded. Discolored lips shriveled away from the yellow teeth. The vitreous eyes withered into nubs of formless plasm, and the full weight of his 3,500 years descended on him in an instant. I left that room of death and walked over the marble floors toward the exit, my footsteps echoing through the empty halls, even as they had echoed for so long in the corridors of time. And I wondered as I walked if Sasra knew now what I knew, that the antidote in the ring of Thoth can bring death to the body, but not to the soul. And I wondered in what cloak of flesh his spirit now dwelt, just as I, Parmes, priest of Thoth, had for the last 40 years of my 3,500 dwelt in the body of John Vansittart Smith.
Doctor, he's so little and so red.
Well, now, he's only 2 days old.
But he doesn't look a bit like either his father or me.
Give him time, my dear. All babies look pretty much alike when they're first born.
I don't know. His eyes, or... It's silly, of course, but he looks like an Egyptian.
Produced and directed by William N. Robeson, The Ring of Thoth by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle was adapted for radio by Les Crutchfield, with Jack Webb as Sorcerer, Thomas Freebairn Smith as Vansittart Smith, and Joan Banks as Atma. The special musical score was conceived and conducted by Cy Fewer. Escape is presented by the Columbia Broadcasting System and its affiliated stations each week at this time. Next week, we invite you to escape to a raft in the South Pacific with John Russell in his unforgettable story of human frailty, The Fourth Man. And so good night until next week at this time, when again it will be time to escape. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Dragnet. Ladies and gentlemen, story you are about to hear is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent. You're a detective sergeant. You're assigned the homicide detail. You've just completed an investigation on an East Los Angeles murder case. You get a hotshot call. A shooting in a liquor store on Pico Boulevard. Your job? Check it out.
Dragnet, the documented drama of an actual crime. For the next 30 minutes, in cooperation with the Los Angeles Police Department, you will travel step by step on the side of the law through an actual case transcribed from official police files. From beginning to end, from crime to punishment, Dragnet is the story of your police force in action.
It was Wednesday, February 16th. It was cool in Los Angeles. We were working the day watch out of Homicide Division. My partner's Frank Smith. The boss is Captain Lorman. My name's Friday. We were on our way back from the interrogation room, and it was 8:46 p.m. when we got to room 42. Homicide.
You think he'll cop out?
I don't know. Probably won't make much difference anyway.
Yeah. Mel keeping the gun, that was his big mistake.
Yeah.
Wonder why she gave him the chance.
What do you mean?
Well, he'd beaten her a couple of times before, and neighbors all said so.
Yeah.
You'd think she'd have walked out on him.
And that's what she was trying to do.
Well, she should have tried sooner. You got any plans for dinner?
No, not especially. Why?
Well, I guess I'll grab a bite with you. Faye said she's not going to want any dinner. She'll fix something for the kids and told me to eat downtown.
Well, that's a switch, isn't it?
Sure is. Tell you the truth, Joe, she's kind of sore at me. This is her way of getting even.
Is that so?
Yeah. Woman expects a man to remember everything. Let him slip up just once, it's the end of the world.
Is that right?
Birthdays, anniversaries, Mother's Day, Christmas, Lincoln's birth, everything.
What'd you forget this time?
Valentine's Day.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I knew there was something eating her when I got home that night. She didn't say a word until the next morning. Then she hands me a tie. Stripes like that brown and red one from last Christmas, only this one is maroon and gray.
Yeah.
Said she didn't want to give it to me on Valentine's Day because she knew how embarrassed I'd be. You know, on account of not having a present for her.
Well, why don't you get her some flowers or some candy you can make up for it?
She told me not to, Joe. Said she didn't want anything unless I thought of it myself and on the right day. See, you don't understand women, Joe. You can't make up for a mistake. They won't let you.
Hot shot, I got it.
For us?
Liquor store out in Pico.
Yeah?
Dead body. We drove out to the Evandale liquor store on West Pico Boulevard. The owner, Cecil Evandale, was lying on the floor behind the counter. He'd been shot to the chest, and he was already dead when the body was discovered. A team from robbery detail and Sergeant J. Allen and a crew from the crime lab arrived a few minutes after we did. They began their investigation, and we talked to the patrol car officers who'd found Evandale's body.
We were just cruising by, and we saw the front door standing wide open. No sign of Evandale, so we thought maybe we ought to look around.
Yeah.
Came inside, gave the place a once-over, spotted him just like he is now.
You're sure he's the man who owned the store, huh?
Oh, yeah, it's Evandale, all right.
He's had trouble before.
How's that?
A couple of boys held him up, must be about a month ago now. We answered the call.
I see.
They were picked up the same night. Evandale had their license number.
You got a conviction?
First-degree robbery.
Well, it can't be them if they're in the joint.
I'll check on it, Joe.
Right.
There was another hold-up. They didn't get away with much.
Oh?
Cash register was open when we came in. Still full. $50, $75. That's my guess.
Well, maybe something scared them off.
The street was empty. No cars, nobody.
Funny they left all that money just lying there in the drawer.
That's not the only funny thing around here.
Who you got, Jay?
Found the casing. Take a look.
Mm-hmm. It's 38, huh?
Yeah. Slug went right through him. In his chest, out the back. Right through. Clean as a whistle.
Mm-hmm.
Sure got me, Buffalo.
What do you mean?
The slug.
Yeah?
Can't find a trace of it.
Frank came back from the telephone with the information that the two men who had previously robbed the Evandale liquor store were now serving their sentences in San Quentin. While Sergeant J. Allen and the crew from the crime lab continued to search for the missing slug and any other physical evidence, we canvassed the area for somebody who might have heard the shooting. 9:53 p.m. We found a drugstore in the next block that was still open for business.
Fountain's closed. That's what you're after.
No, sir, we'd like to talk to you for a minute.
Talk? What about?
We're police officers. It's Frank Smith. My name's Friday.
Police, huh?
That's right.
Thought I heard sirens a while back. What's been going on around here?
Well, there was some trouble at the liquor store down the street.
Cease Evandale's place?
Yeah.
You shouldn't have let it happen.
Beg your pardon?
You're police officers, ain't you?
Yes, sir, we are.
He was robbed just a few weeks ago. You should have figured somebody'd try it again. You should have been watching him, making sure he was all right.
Well, it's a pretty big town, sir. There's a lot to watch.
Too big, if you ask me. Why don't they go home?
What's that?
All them folks who keep moving to L.A. 25 years ago, I come here. Things were a lot different then. Man could drive down the streets, find a place to park his car. There was room to move around in. Elbow room.
Mm-hmm.
More people coming all the time. Getting so crowded a man can't breathe.
Yes, sir.
You see anybody who might have done the shooting?
Tonight, you mean?
Yes, sir. Anybody suspicious?
Nobody suspicious come in here. Not since I got back from supper, leastways.
When was that?
7:30. Right around in there.
Uh-huh.
Don't think I've had more than a half a dozen customers since supper time. Miss Jacobs, her youngsters got the croup, sold her some cough syrup. Ought to relieve it some. Then there was a couple of boys, bought Cokes, read magazines.
Well, how old were they?
10, 12, just shavers.
Uh-huh.
Fella come in for a carton of cigarettes. Don't know his name, but he lives around here somewheres. Been in a half dozen times before. Don't recall anybody else.
Well, how about out on the street? Did anybody walk by or hang around who doesn't belong in the neighborhood?
How the heck would I know? You can't even see the street from in here when it gets dark.
Yes, sir.
Black as pitch out there. Been after 'em for the last 5 years to put up a street lamp. Been begging 'em. What do they do? Just raise my taxes and spend the money on freeways and gadgets so's more strangers will come flooding in on us. Whole darn shooting could have took place right there on my sidewalk. I wouldn't have been able to see it.
Yes, sir. Well, thanks anyway.
I say, wait a minute. Come to think of it, I did spot a couple of fellas. Acted kind of funny, too, like they didn't want me to see 'em. You know what I mean?
I think so.
It was then when I was walking home to supper. No, it was when I was on my way back.
That'd be about 7:30?
Give or take a couple of minutes. Well, they were just standing there in the doorway, kind of. Turned their backs toward me as I walked past them.
Could you describe them for us?
I said they turned their backs.
Yes, sir.
Not that it made no never mind. It's so darn dark out there, I couldn't describe them if they'd been coming at me head on.
Uh-huh. You got any idea how tall they were?
Medium height, I guess.
How were they dressed?
Didn't notice. Except for one of them.
Yes, sir.
Jacket he was wearing. Notice that. Remember thinking it was so loud you could see it in the dark. Kind of plaid. You know big crisscrosses?
Mm-hmm. What color was it?
Must have been light. Some kind of light color. Tan, maybe with green in it. Not sure.
Now, is there anything else you can tell us about these two men?
I think I've done pretty good to give you that much.
Yes, sir, you have. Thank you.
I'm not saying they had anything to do with shooting Cease Evansdale. You understand?
Yeah, we understand.
It's up to you to find out who did it and bring him to justice.
Yes, sir.
Don't know what's getting into this town. Man ain't safe in his own store. More crime all the time. More criminals. Wasn't like this 25 years ago.
Maybe not.
Why should there be more now?
Well, you gave us the reason.
Huh?
More people. $11:36 p.m. We went back to the liquor store. The body had been moved to the county morgue. Jay Allen told us that he and his crew had searched the walls, the floor, and the furniture. There was no physical evidence and still no trace of the slug that had killed Cecil Evandale. The next morning, February 17th, we again returned to the neighborhood and questioned shopkeepers in the vicinity. None of them had any leads. 12:05 p.m., we went back to the office.
Well, I guess you were right, Joe.
What about?
Faye, when I got home last night, she was expecting candy or flowers or something.
I thought she told you not to buy her anything.
Yeah, but that didn't keep her from being disappointed when she didn't get anything.
Oh, what'd she say?
She didn't say. She just looked.
I got it. Homicide, Friday. Yes, that's right. No, we're on that. When? I see. My tie-in, yeah. Give me the address. Okay, right. Thank you. Office just got a report from a clinic out on Wilshire. A man came in to see him this morning.
Yeah?
Had a .38 slug in his chest. We drove out to a small medical center a few blocks west of Vermont Avenue, and we went into the offices of Dr. J.Y. Springer.
Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Afternoon. Dr. Springer in?
Do you have an appointment?
The police officers.
Oh.
The doctor busy?
Well, he does have a patient with him right now.
I see. We'll wait.
I'll tell him you're here. I'm sure it won't be long.
Thank you. Might as well sit down.
Yeah. You think we're on the right track, Joe?
I don't know. That slug isn't in the liquor store, that's for sure. Jay says there isn't a mark on the walls.
Yeah. Sure had to hit something.
Or somebody.
Yeah. You want a magazine?
No, thanks.
This is a brand new issue. See right here? February.
Mm-hmm.
New magazine in the doctor's office.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
What's the matter?
It's a medical journal.
The doctor will see you now.
Thank you.
In here.
Thank you.
Dr. Springer?
That's right.
Police officers. This is Frank Smith. My name's Friday.
How do you do?
How do you do, sir?
What can I do for you, gentlemen?
I understand you took a bullet out of a man's chest this morning.
Oh, that.
Mind telling us about it?
No, not a bit. The young man came into the office. Must have been around 10 o'clock.
Yes, sir.
He told me that he and a friend had been looking at some guns last night. One of them went off accidentally. I examined the wound. It was quite superficial. Bullet had barely penetrated the skin.
Mm-hmm.
I removed it, put on a bandage. That's all there was to it.
I see.
Very superficial. Didn't even need instruments. He could have squeezed it out himself if he'd tried.
Was he a regular patient of yours, Doctor?
No, I'd never seen him before. He said he was just passing through L.A.
Could you describe him for us?
Well, he was in his late teens or early 20s. Dark hair, stocky, weighed about 170, I judge.
How tall?
5'7", 5'8".
Mm-hmm. Any distinguishing marks or scars that you recall?
No, nothing like that.
How was he dressed?
Slacks, sport shirt, loud jacket.
Loud?
Yes, a plaid of some sort, green and brown. The shirt was open at the collar, no tie.
Mm-hmm. Well, when you called in, you reported that his name was Clyde Beaton?
That's right.
You think it might be his real name, Doctor?
I'm sure of it.
Oh.
You have to be very careful whenever you treat a bullet wound. I always ask for identification.
Yes, sir. That's a good idea.
The young fellow was a little embarrassed at first. He didn't have any.
No driver's license?
It was in his other suit. I told him he'd have to stay here until I could contact the police.
What did he do then?
He fished through his pockets, found a letter he'd recently received. I took the name from the envelope, Clyde Beaton. Seemed sufficient identification under the circumstances.
Did you get Beaton's address?
He said he was staying at the Crown Prince Hotel on Sunset.
That what the letter said?
I'm afraid I don't remember. It was the name I was chiefly interested in.
I understand.
Did you keep the slug, Doctor? The bullet you took out of his chest?
No, I'm afraid not. He wanted it for a souvenir.
Your report said it was a .38.
That's right, .38 caliber.
You sure of that?
I've handled guns all my life. It's a hobby.
I see.
Is this a serious matter, Sergeant?
I'm afraid we don't know yet.
The wound was very superficial.
Yes, sir.
I remember telling him how lucky he was that the bullet hadn't gone in deeper.
Well, he could have been luckier.
How's that?
If it hadn't hit him at all. We drove over to the Crown Prince Hotel. They told us that no one by the name of Clyde Beaton had been registered during the past month. They also told us that they had no guests who answered the suspect's description. We checked the name through R&I. They had nothing on them. We also checked the telephone books, city directories. We came up with 2 Clyde Beatons. The first one was an elderly man who lived on Highland Avenue. We interviewed him and learned that he suffered from arthritis and had been bedridden for the past 2 years. He had no living relatives except for a daughter who kept house for him. The second Clyde Beaton lived on Washington Boulevard. We drove out to the address. It was a 2-story brick and stucco apartment house.
Yes?
Mr. Beaton in?
No, he isn't.
You know where we can find him?
What for?
We're police officers.
What?
This is Frank Smith. My name's Friday.
Are you Mrs. Beaton?
Yes.
This is Clyde Beaton.
That's right.
Could you tell us where your husband is, please?
Well, he's not here.
Yes, ma'am. Where is he?
Chicago.
Oh.
He's been there since last Friday.
You sure of that?
What's this all about?
Police business.
Do you mind if we come in for a minute?
Well, no, I guess not. We can't talk very loud. The baby's asleep.
Yes, ma'am.
You say your husband's in Chicago?
Since last Friday.
Business trip?
Well, in a way. He's a plastic salesman. Company's having a convention.
I see.
He did a bigger gross last year than any other West Coast representative, and that's why they picked him to go.
Mm-hmm.
It's quite an honor. He's only been with him a couple of years, practically the youngest man on the force.
Yes, ma'am.
He even had a dinner last night. Gave him a plaque.
Last night?
He called me afterwards. Long distance.
From Chicago.
Don't you believe me?
Yes, ma'am. Does your husband have a gun, Miss Beaton?
What?
A pistol or a revolver?
Well,
Well, does he, Miss Beaton?
Yes, he has a gun.
Do you take it with him?
No, of course not.
Mm-hmm.
Why would he take a gun to Chicago?
Would you get it for us, please?
Oh, it's in the bedroom. Bureau drawer. The baby's there.
We'd like to see it, Miss Beaton.
All right.
Well, the convention in Chicago should be easy to check.
Yeah, too easy. Well, if the guy was setting up an alibi, he'd pick something tougher to crack, wouldn't he?
You think we've struck out?
Could be.
I'm sorry.
Ma'am?
Well, the gun isn't there.
Oh.
I looked all through the bureau. I don't know what could have happened to it.
Well, maybe your husband did take it with him.
I packed all his things. He couldn't have.
I see.
Well, we've always kept it in the top drawer where it'd be handy.
Mm-hmm.
You know where your husband's staying, Miss Beaton?
The Waterfield Hotel. I've never been in Chicago, but it's right downtown someplace.
What's the name of the company he works for?
Federated Plastics. Can't you tell me why you're asking all these questions?
We just like to get in touch with him.
What about?
Do you have a picture we can take with us?
Of Clyde?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, I suppose so, but I'd like to know why. Is he in any trouble?
Not if he's been in Chicago for the last few days.
Of course that's where he's been. I talked to him just last night.
We have the picture now?
Let's see what I can find. I think there are a couple of snapshots in the desk. Would that be all right?
Yes, ma'am. Be fine.
When's your husband due back?
Day after tomorrow.
Is he flying?
Mm-hmm. I don't know which flight, though. He said he'd send me a telegram. Well, here's a picture. Took it last summer on our vacation up in Yellowstone.
Mm-hmm.
My brother Tim's in it, too. Will that make any difference?
No, it's perfectly all right.
That's Clyde, sitting on the rock.
Mm-hmm.
The one in the plaid coat.
We took the picture with us, and we stopped by Dr. Springer's clinic. His nurse told us he was operating at St. Thomas Hospital. She said she'd call as soon as he was free. We went back to the office, and we sent a teletype to the Chicago PD requesting information about Clyde Beaton, supposedly registered at the Waterfield Hotel. 2 hours later, at 5:43 p.m., Chicago reported that a man answering Beaton's description and using his name was staying at the Waterfield. They also confirmed the fact that he'd attended a convention dinner the previous evening.
He sure comes up looking good.
Sure does.
Do we check him out?
Well, we better talk to him when he gets back in town, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Homicide, Friday. Yes, ma'am. How long will he be there? I see. Would you ask him to wait, please? Right away. Thank you. Doctor's back in his office.
You still want to show him this picture?
So far, it looks like we're 100% wrong.
Yeah.
Can't get any worse. We drove out to Dr. Springer's office, and we showed him the snapshot of Clyde Beaton.
Mm-hmm. That's him.
You sure, Doctor?
No doubt about it. That's the young man I treated this morning.
His wife says he's in Chicago.
Well, that's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
He does fit your description.
Even the coat.
Coat?
Well, yes, sir. Isn't that the one you told us he was wearing? See there? The plaid?
But he isn't wearing... Oh, I see what you mean.
What?
The other chap in the picture. Yes, I believe that is the same coat.
Wait, I don't follow you, Doctor.
This is the young man who had the bullet in his chest, the one standing up wearing the leather jacket.
Mm-hmm.
But when he came to see me this morning,
yes, sir,
he had on this other man's coat.
Dr. Springer was positive in his identification of Mrs. Beaton's brother. 7:28 p.m. We again interviewed Mrs. Beaton.
Oh, it's you again.
Yes, ma'am.
What do you want now?
Just a couple more questions.
You got me so nervous before, I just didn't know what to do. I had to telephone Clyde all the way to Chicago. Make sure he was all right.
We're sorry about that, ma'am.
It cost us a fortune in phone bills. He said the police back there had been bothering him, too. He couldn't imagine why.
We don't want to cause you any trouble.
Well, that doesn't help any.
Would you take another look at this picture, Miss Beaton?
What for? I gave it to you.
Yes, ma'am. You said that the other man was your brother. Is that right?
What about him?
What's his name, please?
Tim.
His last name?
Larkin. Tim Larkin.
Well, now, does the coat that your husband's wearing in the picture belong to him or to your brother?
It's Clyde's coat, of course. He's wearing it.
Is it in the house now?
No, I don't know where it is. Cleaner's, I guess. Wasn't here when I packed Clyde's bag last week.
Your brother live in L.A.?
Yes.
Where about?
Well, he lived with us until a few weeks ago, and then he and a friend of his took an apartment over on Bellwood Avenue.
You know the number?
261 West.
What's his friend's name?
Well, it's Bill Dressingham. Went to college together.
Mm-hmm.
That's why Tim came to California to go to school. Our folks live back in South Dakota.
I see.
He did all right the first couple of years, but something happened last semester. He just sort of lost interest and quit school, both him and Bill. Got jobs and rented this apartment. I guess they're making good money. It's a very nice place.
Yeah.
It isn't Tim, is it?
Yeah.
Well, the reason you've been coming back and forth here all day.
We don't know yet.
Well, if anything's happened, it'll be my fault. I'm supposed to be responsible for Tim while he's in California, but the folks don't know he isn't going to school anymore. They think he's still living with us.
Mm-hmm.
He's baby of the family. He just turned 21. Thought I'd wait until Mom and Dad realized he's a grown man. Then I'd tell him he's on his own. Thought I'd wait till then.
Maybe you waited too long. 1:15 p.m. We went over to the Bellwood address Mrs. Beaton had given us. We found a card on one of the doors with the names Beaton and Dressingham on it.
Yeah, who is it?
Open up.
What a big McGilla.
All right, get your hands against the wall.
Huh?
Police officers, move. Turn around.
You okay? Come on, son. All right, he's not heavy, Joe.
All right, what's your name?
Tim Larkin.
Unbutton your shirt.
What for?
Your shirt, unbutton it.
Yes, sir.
Where'd you get that bandage?
I fell down.
Come on, where'd you get it?
Fell down, I said.
You see a doctor?
No.
How do you know it isn't serious?
It's getting better.
You didn't see a doctor?
No.
Well, we've got one we'd like you to see.
What are you talking about?
Dr. Springer.
Oh.
You ever hear of him?
I guess so.
Well?
We were just horsing around, Bill and me. Fooling with a gun.
Who's Bill?
Fellow I live with.
Go ahead.
Gun went off. Bullet caught me in the chest, that's all.
Where's the gun?
What difference does it make?
Where is it?
Closet.
All right, you stay put.
I'll check.
Where were you last night?
What time?
All of it.
Here.
All evening?
Yes, sir.
Found it, Joe.
No.
38. Found this, too.
This your coat, Larkin?
No.
Whose is it?
Brother-in-law's.
Who's the gun belong to?
Him?
Did he give it to you?
Borrowed it.
Borrow the coat, too, did you?
Yeah.
Where were you last night?
I said before, right here.
Been over on Pico lately?
No.
You sure of that?
I'm sure.
This coat was.
I don't know what you mean.
All right, come on, son. You might as well tell us.
Tell you what?
We got a shell casing.
Yeah?
From a 38. We found it in the liquor store last night.
So?
The owner was killed.
Lots of 38s around.
Be real easy to check your gun against the casing we found. Well?
Come on, Larkin.
Guess you'll find out anyway.
All right, tell us.
I was there.
Evandale liquor store.
Yeah, me and Bill. We was going to hold up the joint, that's all. Just hold him up.
Go ahead.
Bill had the gun. I didn't have nothing to do with that part. He was holding the gun on the old geezer, and I went around behind to get at the cash register.
Mm-hmm.
Something happened. I don't know what. Maybe Bill was squeezing too hard on the trigger. Maybe he got scared. I don't know.
Yeah.
The gun went off. The old guy fell down. Same time I knew, I felt a little pain here in my chest. Bullet must have gone through him and hit me.
Yeah.
Bill got all panicky. Turned around and started running. I stuck right on his heels.
Where's Bill now?
Bar down the street. Went out for a beer.
Is he carrying a gun?
No, sir. This is the only one we got.
All right. Let's go.
Oh. You understand that I didn't have nothing to do with the shooting. You understand that, don't you? It was Bill that pulled the trigger. I didn't have nothing to do with it. I wasn't even involved.
Yeah, well, we don't see it that way.
Huh?
You ended up with a slug.
The story you've just heard is true. The names were changed to protect the innocent.
On June 14th, trial was held in Department 93, Superior Court of the State of California, in and for the County of Los Angeles. William Seaton Dressingham and Timothy Wilkes Larkin were tried and convicted of murder in the first degree. The jury returned a recommendation of leniency, and the suspects are now serving life terms at the State Penitentiary, San Quentin, California.
Dragnet. The story of your police force in action is a presentation of the United States Armed Forces Radio Service.
My name's Regan. I work for Anthony J. Lyon, International Detective Bureau. They call me the Lion's Eye.
Jeff Regan, Investigator, starring Frank Graham as Regan with Frank Nelson as Anthony J. Lyon. So stand by for mystery, suspense, and adventure in tonight's story of The Two Little Sisters.
When a 6-foot, 200-pound guy turns up with a knife in his back, maybe a short 100 pounds of cool green-eyed blonde did it. And maybe she didn't. Well, this time there were two blondes, sisters. They looked alike, but they were about as much alike as a sheepdog and a cobra. Goes to show you can't tell by the package. Their names were Zemansky, Mary and Dolly Zemansky. They worked for the Everybody's Happy Pastime Carnival shows. It was old E. Happy Pastime himself who was sitting in the Lion's office when I got there about noon.
Jeffrey, my boy, glad you've come in. I'd like you to meet our new client, proprietor of the Everybody's Happy Pastime Carnival shows. No doubt you've heard of them, Jeffrey?
Sure. How are you?
Laryngitis? Yeah, our friend here is troubled with laryngitis, Jeffrey. Purely psychological. A result of worry, profound worry. Isn't that right, sir? Yes. Yes. Well, Jeffrey...
What do we do?
Now, Jeffrey, I'm glad you asked that question. To tell the truth, I envy you. Fine opportunity for you to get out of the city while I sit here sweltering in this heat. You, Jeffrey...
Get to the point.
Well, yes. Well, Jeffrey, the fact is our friend here leaves on the 2 o'clock plane for Phoenix, Arizona. Advance arrangements for the carnival.
Sure.
Yeah, sure. Well, meantime, the star performer of Everybody's Happy Pastime Carnival shows, a girl named... Oh, now where's that piece of paper? I jotted it down. Oh, here we are. Dolly Zemansky, the Queen of the Blades.
Ice skater?
Knife thrower.
Oh, I get it.
She's a knife thrower with the show, Jeffrey. Best in a line, they say.
Well, what's the trouble?
That's just it. Someone's been threatening her, a man named Rand. It's upsetting her, Jeffrey. Beginning to show in her work. That's what worries our client here.
What's Rand got on her?
Well, I don't know, Jeffrey. Our client doesn't know. Isn't that right, sir? Yes. No, but we'll retain to find out.
And get rid of him.
Exactly. Get rid of him. Get rid of him, Jeffrey.
Like the Lion said, it was a chance to get out of the city. I drove Father Time back out to his carnival. He had to pick up his stuff and then make the 2 o'clock plane at International Airport. The carnival was set up on a couple of vacant lots out on Sepulveda. Big sign, Everybody's Happy Pastime Carnival shows. Tents, trailers, Ferris wheels, sawdust, the usual stuff. The old guy pointed out Dolly Zemansky's trailer, and I was on my own. I didn't get far. A guy in a 1922 tux, 3 days whiskers, and a turban like a second-hand bird's nest stopped me.
Oh, there. How do you do, sir?
The only legitimate thing about the Swami was his breath. That was 90 proof.
You are Regan.
What's that to you?
I am Swami Al-Kaji. Step this way, please, into my tent. I will consult the crystal. The crystal ball tells me many things.
Yeah? Like what?
Sit right here, Mr. Regan.
Thanks.
The crystal ball tells me, Mr. Regan, that you've been hired to help Dolly Zemansky. Tells me you have been hired by... by the owner of our little carnival.
How much of that did he tell you?
Yes, Mr. Regan, it was he who told me. I saw you arrive together.
What do you know about Rand?
Fred Rand, let me see. Yes, let me see. The crystal ball is cloudy. The sand of time runs through the glass, Mr. Regan.
Cut it out.
What do you mean?
You're a Swami like Truman's a Republican.
Yes, true. Yes. Well, have a drink, Mr. Regan. I see much more in this than in the crystal ball. Yes. Say when.
When?
Here you are.
Thanks.
I'm a four-finger man myself, Mr. Regan. Been my ruin.
You said you had information.
Yes, there are 2 sisters.
Zemansky?
Yes, Dolly and Mary.
Who's married?
The younger sister.
She new to the show?
A few months with us.
Her sister get her the job?
Yes, Dolly Zemansky's our star performer. Naturally, she has influence.
Okay. What about Rand?
I will consult the crystal ball.
Look, I don't get paid by the hour. What's Ram got on Dolly Zemansky?
I don't know.
No?
I see letters forming in the crystal.
Okay, play it your way.
F, Z. I can't see anymore now. Perhaps if you'd care
See you
to...
later.
Mr. Regan, Mr. Regan!
Maybe the Swami had something to sell. But if I couldn't get it for free, I could go back and buy it later. It was only a little ways to Dolly Zemansky's trailer. Big, expensive job. Everything was wide open because of the heat, so I walked in. Nobody home. Ladies' clothes lying around, theatrical makeup, grease paint stick. Picture of some round-faced guy with a crew cut signed, yours adoringly, no name. Knives and daggers around. And a frosty blonde with green eyes in the doorway watching me.
What are you doing in here?
Homework?
That's clever.
Who are you?
That's what I ought to ask you.
Oh, guess. You're Dolly Zemansky.
No, I'm her sister.
Mary Zemansky.
Yes.
I'm Jeff Regan, International Detective Bureau.
You're a detective?
That's it. You joined the carnival about 4 months ago.
5 months.
5 months. Been in show business before?
No, I was a boy back home, but I...
That him?
What?
Photo on the dressing table.
No. Sister Pine.
Pine?
He's in love with my sister.
Pine. Pine, don't I?
Harold Pine. J.J. Pine's son.
Yeah?
You know, Pine warehouses. They're all over Los Angeles.
So your sister's going to marry them?
Why, think so.
But maybe she isn't.
Mr. Regan,
Supposing you give me what you know, About 4 days ago, a guy turned up, Rand.
Yes.
Your sister scare easy?
No, Mr. Regan, that's just it. She's strong-minded. She left home when she was 15.
Go on.
Well, life can't have been easy for her, show business.
Just tell it.
Well, she's independent, Mr. Regan. I've tried to tell her...
What about Rand?
Mr. Regan, I can't tell you.
Lady, I've got a job to do. What about Rand?
I don't know.
Your sister scared of him?
I...
She is or she isn't?
It's something else. She told me she didn't know him. She said he was trying to get fresh, but twice I shouldn't tell you this.
My fee says I help your sister.
All right. There's a little street 2 blocks up Sepulveda. Twice I walked by there this morning and 2 days ago. There was a green sedan parked there both times, and Fred Rand and my sister were in it. They seemed to be arguing. Mr. Regan, that's all I know.
Okay. How do I find your sister?
She performs in the main tent, but she must be just about through. She might be over there.
Okay. See you. I started for the main tent and got about halfway up the midway when he passed me, going down the midway, and into the big shiny trailer. Broad-shouldered, 6-foot guy with red hair. And when he went into the Zemansky sister's trailer, I knew he was Rand. I started for the trailer. I thought I heard voices quarreling. And then I knew something was wrong. That was Mary Zemansky screaming. I hadn't had my eye off the door of that trailer 60 seconds since I left. Nobody went in but Rand. Nobody came out. But I busted fast. I made the last 100 yards like Mel Patton on Dexedrine. But what I saw when I got inside that trailer stopped me cold. It was Mary Zemansky and Rand. But it wasn't like I figured. Mary was hanging onto the wall and staring down at the floor, sobbing. And on the floor was Rand, with a knife in his back. All right, give it to me. Give it to me fast.
No.
What happened? Come on.
No, I can't tell you. I can't.
But you've got 10 seconds before the whole carnival will be in here. What happened? Tell me what happened.
I won't talk.
All right, both of you stand back at the end of the trailer.
Who are you?
Sergeant Post, police. Hands above your heads.
All right.
Clear away now. Clear back, folks. You, Dolly Zemansky?
No, I'm her sister, Mary Zemansky.
Your turn, mister.
Maybe we can take our hands down?
You armed?
Yeah.
Where till I get it? Hip?
Shoulder.
Okay. Set him down.
Thanks.
Got a permit to carry this?
Sure.
Show it.
Regan, private detective, International Detective Bureau. Here's the file copy.
Look good, Regan. You kill this guy? Okay, Regan.
Well, maybe you'll tell me who the guy was.
His name was Fred Rand.
That check, Regan?
What I heard.
Maybe you knew Rand, Regan.
Nope.
How'd you get in here so quick?
Heard screams.
Sure.
Oh, what's the use of all this? You both know what happened.
No, what did?
Mr. Rand came in and well, he'd been bothering Dolly. Maybe he thought I was Dolly. We look a little bit alike. And he came in
And? Go on.
He struggled. And I killed him.
It hung together like the Jap Navy. She was sore at Rand because he'd been bothering her sister, so when the big 6-foot guy came into the trailer, she grabbed him and stabbed him in the back. Sure, it could have happened like that. But from the look that came on Sergeant Post's face, I could see he'd try to make it stick. He looked like a hungry kid at a bakery window. He was seeing lieutenant stripes. Well, half an hour later, Mary went off for the ride downtown in the paddy wagon. I figured it was a funny thing Dolly Zemansky hadn't showed up. I decided to look for her. She wasn't around. She'd finished her act a little bit before the ruckus started, and it looked like nobody had seen her since. Then I saw a tent with some stars and crescent moons painted on the front, and that reminded me of something. A phony Swami with information for sale. He was inside. All right, Swami, get busy on that crystal ball and dish up some answers.
Yes.
Like FZ.
Ah, yes, the letters FC. The crystal is clearly...
Oh, clear it. It's a murder rap now. FZ what?
Ah.
Rand.
Yes, Mr. Lee.
Fred Rand.
Mrs. Fred Zemansky Rand.
Dolly Zemansky was his wife. Now you've said something. That gave me something to work on, but halfway to my car, I remembered something else. Something Mary Zemansky had said. A green sedan parked twice in the same place. Maybe it was parked there a third time. It figured the owner wouldn't be driving it away. He was taking a free ride as a guest of the county to the morgue. It was there, green sedan, on the little street 2 blocks up Sepulveda. The door was unlocked. The registration on the steering post read Fred Rand. That figured. The address was on a street called Delancey in San Francisco. But maybe I wouldn't have to go that far. There was a card down on the floorboards. One of those commercial hotel cards. Globe Hotel, Main Street. I stuck it in my pocket. That was when a guy said,
I'm gonna kill you, Fred Rand.
I hit the car door with my shoulder. That knocked him back, but he came in again and tried for me. I blocked it.
Why, you freak.
That was when I got a good look at him. He was the guy in the picture in the Zemansky sisters' trailer. Yours adoringly, Harold Pine. I'd like to have stuck around and had a little talk with Harold Pine. Maybe he knew some answers. But one answer he didn't know was who killed Fred Rand. When he made that college try on me and called me Rand, it didn't take the FBI to figure he didn't even know Rand was dead. But it looked like Pine was going to be asleep a while, so I went downtown. The Globe Hotel. Last stop on the line for the canned heat crowd. Brass spittoons. Row of cracked leather chairs along the front. 2 or 3 old guys dying in them. Nobody at the desk, so I picked up number 306 from the register and went up. The door wasn't locked. Inside, you could see why. Nothing in the joint but a brass bed. Cardboard suitcase on a chair with a couple of neckties in it. Fred Rand had been traveling white. But there was something else in the suitcase stuck in the lining. Item torn out of the Weekly Variety, the show business sheet. It said a couple of knife throwers named Duncan and Dolly had checked out of Las Vegas for work at a spot called the Blue Dolphin Casino, Los Angeles. The date line was half torn off, but you could make out the 46 at the end. There was a phone on the wall, and I tried the Blue Dolphin Casino. There was nobody home. Too early for a night spot. So I decided to let the Lion work on that one.
International Detective Bureau, Anthony J. Lyon, President speaking.
Lion, I've got something for you.
Jeffrey, I'm glad you called. I just talked to the proprietor of the Everybody's Happy Pastime Carnival shows from Phoenix.
So we're off the job.
Well, now, Jeffrey, what can we expect? We were retained to get rid of that fellow Rand, to relieve Miss Dolly Zemansky of any undue nervous stress that might endanger the box office value of her performance.
Go on.
Now, Jeffrey, it just seems that, the sister did the job for us.
Sure she did.
Jeffrey, I don't think I understand you.
You can understand this. This job we stick on.
Jeffrey, be reasonable. The matter's in the hands of the police.
They got the wrong goose.
What's that?
I don't think she stabbed a 6-foot guy in the back. I think somebody pitched the strike out into the window.
Dolly Zemansky?
Maybe. I think that's what her sister thinks. I think that's why she confessed.
Oh, I see what you're driving at now. We're defending the innocent again. We're not in business for money, are we, Regan? Why should we be with the world full of poor unfortunates waiting to be helped?
Cut it out.
Regan, from now on, if you want to work for charity, you work alone. You're fired.
That's the only good news I've had all day. I checked out of Rand's hotel the same way I went in. When I was crossing the street, I saw somebody coming up the other sidewalk. My high school geometry told me that if I walked fast enough, I could get opposite where my car was parked the same time she did. Okay, come on.
Go
Come on,
me.
sister. Get in the car.
Can't do this to me.
You're Dolly Zemansky, and I'm doing it. Get in there. And stay still. I don't like you, Dolly.
How do you know my name?
You look like your sister.
Mary?
Mary.
Who are you?
Never mind.
Well, where are you taking me?
All right, up Hill Street. There's a place to park above Central. There's a nice view of the city jail.
Jail?
That's right, jail. All right, there. Like I said, there's a good view.
What's the pitch, Regan?
How'd you get that?
The Regan? It's on the steering post.
You got good eyes.
Thanks, honey.
I didn't say that way.
So you don't love me. What's the pitch?
See that building down there? It's the city jail. Do you know who's in it?
No.
It's your sister.
Mary?
Mary.
Why?
She says she killed a guy named Fred Rand.
Fred Rand?
Never heard of Fred Rand, then. Then why were you going to the Globe Hotel? You never heard of that either. Talk, Williams. Okay, I will. You get the Pine warehouses on the hook. It looks good, but there's just one thing wrong. Fred Rand. You're married to him. The guy turns up. Maybe he heard about Harold Pine. He blackmails you.
Okay, he blackmails me, so what?
So you want to get rid of him. You come back from your act this afternoon with the knives in your hands. You get near the trailer. The window's open. You see Rand inside arguing with his sister. That must have been an easy pitch for the star of the show. Your sister's locked up down there on a murder rap to cover you, and you got nothing to say. Okay. I got nothing on you. Not now. But you'll talk. Later. Now get out. I got business. That gave me nothing, so I went down to the jail to try to see Mary Zemansky again. It took me an hour to find out I wasn't going to get to her. But I did find out one thing. That cop had done his job well. Mary had signed a written confession to the murder of Rand. I got in my car and bucked traffic out to Ventura Boulevard. I hit a gas station and checked the address of the Blue Dolphin. It was in Encino. That meant it was near the carnival and I could pick it up later. Everybody's happy. Pastime was doing peak business by the time I got there. The Midway was lit up like a sailor on shore leave. But where I went, it was dark. Out and back of the Zemansky sisters' trailer. Maybe I could pick up some proof that Dolly Zemansky pitched that night that killed Rand. I tripped over a tent rope and bumped into something. Wait a minute. Who are you?
I'm Porky.
Come on out in the light.
Yes, sir.
You're Pine.
Yes, sir, I'm Pine. Harold Pine. But they call me Porky. Porcupine. I reckon you could say it's a sort of a joke. Porcupine? It started when I was in college.
Yeah. My name's Regan, private detective.
Oh, I owe you an apology, Mr. Regan. At the car.
Skip it.
I thought you were Fred Rand.
Why were you gunning for him?
Fred Rand? Calls her Dolly.
Dolly Zemansky. You're going to marry her, aren't you?
Well,
What's on your mind?
Well, now that there's been a murder,
Go on.
I think I better tell the truth.
It's a good idea.
You asked me if I was going to marry Dolly. Well, I am married to her. San Bernardino. Last Thursday. My father, J.J. Pine, reckons, Mr. Regan, because of the family money...
Sure. You couldn't have married Dolly Zemansky. She was married to Fred Rand.
Not for 3 years.
Huh?
They was divorced, Mr. Regan.
You know that?
Well, Dolly had the decree. How else could we have got a marriage license?
Did you see the divorce decree?
Oh, yes, sir.
When was it granted?
1946.
Month. You remember?
Yes, October.
Day?
Well, Mr. Regan, I don't see
what... What day?
October 14th, 1946.
October 14th, 1946. Okay.
Well, Mr. Regan, I don't understand.
Rand showed up again, huh?
Yes, sir.
So you decided to kill him?
He was molesting Dolly.
Sure.
Well, maybe I'd just beat him up.
You're a kid, Pine.
Maybe I am.
You're keeping bad company.
I don't think so.
Well, who do you think knifed Fred Rand?
I don't rightly know.
What were you looking for in back of that trailer?
Nothing. I didn't think of anything.
You know Dolly's sister, Mary?
I do.
You think she killed Fred Rand?
No.
Then who did?
I don't know.
Okay, Pine. You didn't, anyway.
Well, maybe I was just pretending I didn't know he was dead when I fought with you at his car.
No, Porky. You're not that smart.
Mr. Regan, I reckon that's so.
Next stop was the Blue Dolphin Casino. The manager wasn't there, so I waited around. Must have been almost midnight before he showed.
My bartender tells me you're looking for me.
You're the manager, I am.
You bought it. In here.
You book acts?
Used to.
You ever hear of Duncan and Dolly, night throwers?
Did they ever play us?
1946. Maybe, October?
I could look it up.
Okay.
Over here. Files, over here.
Yeah, plenty of cheesecake on the wall.
Oh, those pictures? Acts that have played us.
Yeah?
Yeah. Autograph photos. The Mandy boy, Mandy is me, we're just scared to love. Dimples Davis. Dimples. You see what I mean?
Yeah. See what you mean.
October 1946?
Could be.
No. Hey, wait a second. Last week of September. 26th through the 29th. Last week of September, 1946, Duncan and Dolly...
Let me see that. Dolly Zemansky and Harry Duncan, King and Queen of the Blades. Split week booking, September 26th to 29th, 1946.
I'm thinking King and Queen of the Blades. Wait a second. Behind this locker. Yeah, photos all over the place. I'm just remembering. We keep the leg on out where you can see it, but this stuff, you see... Yeah, like I'm remembering. The Mandy, sincerely, King and Queen of the Blades, Duncan and Dolly.
Let me see that picture.
Yeah. You recognize me?
Yeah, both of them. Dolly and Duncan.
Yeah? What'd it get you?
It gets me my answer. I made it fast back to the carnival. The midway was closed, but I could see a light on in one of the tents. I could hear voices. But when I walked in, the light went off.
Duncan, the light's back on.
That told me where they were. I started. Slow. I waited.
Duncan, don't. Put that knife down. Dunk one's enough, man, was enough!
All right, Duncan, I'm coming. The knife went past, took some air that belonged to me, and stuck in the tent pole. He shoved the table at me, and I shoved it back. He made a try for the tent door, and that was when I got in. Turn the lights on, Dolly. Harry Duncan, a phony swami.
It's a rat.
You should talk.
He okay?
You'll come out of it.
He killed Rand, thought I'd take the fall.
You let your sister take the fall and kept your trap shut because you were scared of what he knew.
Knew what?
Blue Dolphin Casino, end of September 1946.
How do you know that?
When you were supposed to be in Nevada divorcing Rand. You got to stay there 6 weeks, baby. You can't even leave for 1 day. Figure it out. You're perjured in the Nevada courts. Your divorce is no good. When you married Harold Pine, you weren't divorced from Rand.
guy, Regan.
You don't get Pine. I'll take care of that. Your marriage to him is good. Like a $3 bill.
Thanks. Maybe I can do something for you sometime.
So the Swami killed Rand. That's what I figured wrong. If Mary didn't stick Rand, it had to be a toss job. Somebody had to toss that knife through the trailer window. Somebody professional. I figured you. Till I saw that photo of Duncan and Dolly. Why'd you do it?
Because he hated Rand.
He loved you.
How'd you figure that?
Guys fall in love with dames like you. I don't know why.
We were a duo. Duncan and Dolly. We were going to get married, but I ditched him for Rand.
That figures.
Rand looked good a while. Dunk went on the bottle when I married Rand. Pretty soon he got too shaky for a knife act.
Ended up like this. The phony Swami.
He said Rand had beat his time with me. He said he'd kill Rand if he got the chance. Didn't think he had the nerve.
He's coming out of it. Get out of here.
Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't want to talk to Dunk. So long, Regan.
Get out of here! That wrapped it up for me. The police took it from there, and after a few hours at headquarters, I headed back to my apartment. But if I figured it was that easy to get rid of the lion, I was in for a new set of figures. The lion was there, waiting, hat in hand.
Jeffrey, my boy, you've come back at last. I heard all about it. I've been waiting for you, Jeffrey.
Sure. Candle in the window.
Jeffrey, will you ever forgive me? Will you forget the unkind words I've uttered, the meaningless, petty things I've said? Oh, I rue the day I mistrusted you, Jeffrey, my boy. It was madness.
Come off it, fatso.
But, Jeffrey, I mean it. You were right all along. Mary didn't kill that man. Mary was an innocent girl caught in the tangled web of suspicion. But you, Jeffrey, you defended her in her most trying moments. A noble thing, Jeffrey.
But I'm fired.
Fired? Oh, nonsense, my boy, nonsense. Haven't I apologized? It's just that I feel so sad about that poor child Mary and that Pine fellow without the bride he had taken to his heart. What will they ever do, Jeffrey?
Save your sympathy, Lion. They'll get along.
What? What do you mean by that?
Well, when I last saw them, they were sobbing it out on each other's shoulders.
You mean it, Jeffrey? They've discovered each other? How charming, how positively charming. And with all those millions he has, too. Millions of dollars.
Stop drooling, fatso. There's nothing in it for you.
No, Jeffrey, I suppose not. But I can dream, can't I?
Jack Regan, Investigator, is written by William Frug and William Fifield, directed by Sterling Tracy, and stars Frank Graham as Regan, with Frank Nelson as Anthony J. Lyon. Original music is by Dick Arant.
Dragnet.
Ladies and gentlemen, the story you are about to hear is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent. You're a detective sergeant. You're assigned a narcotics detail. A steady flow of drugs is coming into your city. The prime buyers are juveniles. Weeks of effort fail to turn up any lead to the source. Your job? Find it.
Dragnet, the documented drama of an actual crime. For the next 30 minutes, in cooperation with the Los Angeles Police Department, you will travel step by step on the side of the law through an actual case transcribed from official police files. From beginning to end, from crime to punishment, Dragnet is the story of your police force in action.
It was Monday, January 10th. It was cold in Los Angeles. We were working the day watch out of narcotics detail. My partner's Frank Smith. The boss is Captain Wallers. My name's Friday. We were on our way back from the cell block, and it was 9:47 a.m. when we got to the interview room. Felony section.
Sit down there.
All right, Morley, you want to tell us?
About what?
Why you're here.
It's on the booking slip. You saw it.
We'd like to hear it from you.
It's no go.
You won't tell us.
I'd like to, but I can't.
All right, let's go over it again.
From where?
The beginning.
Where were you picked up?
Corner 5th and Main.
For what?
Cop said I had a handful of pot.
Did you?
Well, he found it, said it was mine.
But it wasn't.
No.
Where'd it come from?
I don't know.
How much you turned?
A couple of joints.
And you don't know where it came from?
You heard it once.
Morley, you think that story's going to hold in court?
I got to tell the truth.
Yeah, well, why don't you start?
Okay, you win. Get your notebook out.
Go ahead.
I just got out of the movie, triple feature. Spent the whole afternoon in the place. Time I left, it was dark. I walked up to the corner trying to figure out what to do.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, this guy come down the street, running fast. He came right at me.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he was going to bang into me the way he was running, not looking where he was going.
Yeah.
Now, get the picture. I'm standing there minding my own business, and here comes this fella, perfect stranger. I never saw him before in my whole life. He runs right up to me, and he gives me a package. He just hands it to me and says, hang on to this. I'll be right back. After that, he left.
Mm-hmm.
Next thing I know, a car pulls up, 2 cops get out. I got a chain on. I'm brought in here.
That's the way it happened.
That's right.
You didn't know anything about what the guy was giving you?
No.
You like to tell us what this fellow looked like?
You mean the one who gave me the package?
That's it.
He's a tall one.
Mm-hmm.
About 12'2".
Mm-hmm.
Pure green hair. He wore it in kind of a crew cut. You know, short?
Yeah.
You shouldn't have any trouble picking up a guy like that.
You think you're doing yourself any good with this kind of an attitude?
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm trying to give you the story.
All right, Morley, you just pulled the top in. We got you made and you know it. Officer shook down your house this morning. We found a couple of pounds of manicured Mary over 56. We don't need your word to nail you. You've already had it.
Then why are you rousting me now?
We want to know where it came from.
I buy it from a fellow.
The one 12 feet tall.
That's right.
Let me see your arms, Morley.
What?
Come on. You've been this way. Roll up your sleeves. All right, now the other one. How long you been off?
Boy, somebody tell me what's going on around here. This place is full of crackpots.
You got a question hanging, Morley.
Well, the answer ain't here.
You know where to find it.
All right, I'll lay it out. I bought the grass. I bought it from a couple fellas I know.
Who are they?
You've had it.
Only part way.
Well, that's as far as I go.
You afraid of them?
I'm not afraid of anybody.
Then why not give us the names?
I wouldn't be able to find a place on the street.
We'll build a wall around you.
No, they get through.
We'll be in front of you.
Well, you'll get hurt.
Why won't you tell us where your marijuana connection is?
I won't be a finger.
They're pretty good friends, aren't they?
Huh?
These men you're protecting, they think a lot of you, don't they?
I guess so.
So much that they'll let you sit here while they're on the outside.
I'll get out.
It'll be a while.
Yeah, but when I do, I'll stay alive.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be able to walk around and look them in the face.
Sure you will.
They'll know what I did. I carried the beef. They'll know.
Mm-hmm. Well, don't look too close. You'll see them laughing at you. Kenneth Harris Morley was returned to his cell and held to answer charges of violation of the State Narcotic Act, a felony. Frank and I went back to the office, no closer to the source of marijuana that had been flooding the city. In the past 3 months, juvenile crime had risen sharply. Neighborhood merchants were reporting burglaries and acts of vandalism attributed to teenagers. In talking to some of the youngsters, we found that most of the crimes were the result of tea parties. We'd been working with the narcotic detail of Juvenile Division, but even by pooling our knowledge of the drug traffic in Los Angeles, we'd been unable to come up with a head person in the operation. Arrests had taken place, but none of the people apprehended could or would tell us who was running the campaign. Known peddlers were questioned. Informants were checked and rechecked. But when all of the work was evaluated, we were right back where we'd started. Monday, 12:15 p.m., we met with Captain Walters and filled him in on the latest developments. 1:42 p.m.
That's right, Mac. Yeah. Well, we talked to him. No, he wouldn't give us time of day. Oh, sure he knows. Yeah. Well, at least a step up, it'd be something. Well, the only thing we can figure is the gun has got all the boys lined up and they're scared. Well, until we find a way to open them up, we're going to stay there. Yeah. If we turn anything, we'll let you know. Right. Bye. McTeague, Georgia Street.
They do any good?
No, they knocked over another plant last night.
Where?
Out in the valley. Guys selling drive-in style. Customers pull in the driveway, honk the horn. A couple of minutes later, the pusher comes out and makes a sale.
You said anything?
No. They talked to him for a couple hours. Won't even admit he's in California.
How's he explain the plan?
Doesn't try to. Says the weed's his, just won't tell where it comes from.
Yeah, another dead end.
I'm beginning to think we've seen everyone in town.
I get it. Narcotics Friday. Yeah, that's right. Yes, I remember. Is that right? You name it. Well, it's 1:45 now. How's 15 minutes? I will see you there. What's that? Smith, my partner. You know him. All right. See you there. Right.
What do you got?
Remember Hugo Kenley?
Kenley?
The mule we talked to last year in the Redford thing?
Oh, yeah, little guy, kind of nervous.
That's right.
What about him?
Says he wants to see us.
Yeah.
He's got info on some heroin that's coming into the country.
From where?
European stuff.
3
kilos, over 6 pounds. Frank and I left the office and drove out to see Hugo Kenley. A year prior, he'd been instrumental in aiding us with the apprehension of the gang bringing heroin in from Mexico. Because of his cooperation, he'd been placed on probation, and neither of us had seen him since. On the telephone, he said he'd meet us in a small restaurant down on Spring Street. When Frank and I entered the place, we saw Kenley in one of the rear booths.
Right there.
Hi, Mr. Friday.
Hugo, you know Frank Smith.
Sure. How are you, Mr. Smith?
Hi, Kenley.
All right, Hugo, what do you got for us?
You got to promise one thing.
What's that?
I'm a mile away.
All right, if that's the way you want it.
It's got to be.
All right, go ahead.
The way it came to me was a rumble, nothing for sure.
Yeah.
About 3 weeks ago, I tagged a place out in the south end of town. Stop in there once in a while for some fish and chips, you know, when I can eat.
Yeah.
Well, there was a couple of guys at the bar, and we got to talking.
Mm-hmm.
One thing led to another. All of a sudden, we're buddies.
Mm-hmm. You say this was 3 weeks ago?
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
Got so I'd drop in every night, shoot the breeze with him. A couple of times we went out together, had dinner, hit a couple of strip joints on Western, you know, moved around.
Yeah.
A week ago, one of them took me home. I got sick, and he said he'd drop me off, told me it wasn't out of his way.
Mm-hmm.
So we stopped at a drugstore, and I got some pills. While we were there, he had a cup of coffee. We got to talking.
Yeah.
He wanted to know if I'd go to work with him.
Doing what?
Pushing.
H?
Yeah. Said they were expecting a shipment in, good stuff, European. Said as soon as it got here, they'd want to unload it fast. Said I could make myself a couple of bills.
When's the stuff come in?
I don't know for sure. Sometime next week, the way they talked.
You said something on the phone about it being a good-sized shipment.
The word I got was 3 kilos.
Cut?
No, they're going to do that here.
You know who's shipping it?
No, I figured it'd be better if I didn't show too much interest.
Yeah.
These guys are using agates. They don't want to lose.
What can you tell us about them?
2 of them.
They the guns?
Well, I don't think so. Somebody else has got the keys. They're just along for the ride.
What about the names?
Milo Goff and Drew Franzen.
They stood before?
Yeah.
On what?
Milo's fallen for 211. Drew's had a couple of 459s and 245s.
Any big time?
Milo's seen the joint.
What about Franzen?
Yeah, Q and Folsom.
They owe any time now?
They didn't say.
What about jobs?
Nothing. They wouldn't work if it was against the law.
Who else is in with them?
Well, they're it, as far as I know. They got a lot of mules pushing grass for them now, all waiting for the heavy stuff.
Anybody know who the power is?
No, even Milo and Drew don't talk about him. Just now and then they mention the man, that's all. The man.
Anything about him?
Nothing you can tie down.
They talk to him?
Not with me around.
You know where they sleep?
I'm not sure. Milo said once they had a pad over on Adams.
How'd they pick you? Why'd they open the door for you? Well, you set them up. They're pretty hinky. Why ring you in?
Well, I told you we got to talking when we met. Found out we had a couple of friends we both know.
In the business?
Yeah.
How come they didn't call one of them?
And they want no part of a needle. They don't want anybody with them that might cop. Guess they figured I was safe.
What do you want out of this, Hugo?
Huh?
Where do you draw your play? You're not dealing for free.
And this time, I don't like what they got planned.
What?
You get the whole town sliced up. You're going to set up distributorships. Get the route started and then bow out. Figured the shipment will get them going.
You said something about grass, too, didn't you?
Yeah.
There's a lot of it around town now. Did it come from the same 2 guys?
Most of it. They really got it made. Going to go big time. Make a killing and get out.
Where's the weed coming from?
I don't know for sure.
Same gun behind it?
The way they talk, yeah.
You can't tell us anything about it?
No.
All right. You want to give us a description of this Milo and Drew Franzen?
Sure.
Everything. Where they live, what they eat, who their friends are.
It's going to take some time.
We got it.
Yeah, I figured. Okay, if we go someplace else to talk?
Sure. Where?
Don't make any difference. As long as it's out someplace. I don't want word to get back to them.
All right, let's go.
You know, there's only one way you're really going to nail these guys.
Yeah?
Join them.
You want to set it up?
You asking?
It's your idea.
Yeah, but I don't want any part of their action. I told you they play too rough for me.
Well, you know how we can set up a contact?
Who?
One of us.
Who's going to know?
Nobody else.
For real?
If you want it that way. Now, how about it?
A long way round.
Well, you said yourself it's the only way.
What happens if they find out?
We'll be there.
I'm not worried about that.
Well, what?
Will I?
We left the restaurant and drove over to MacArthur Park. Kenley gave us complete descriptions of the men he knew as Milo Goff and Drew Franzen. We made arrangements to meet with him again the following day, and then Frank and I went back to the office. We ran the names and descriptions through R&I, and we found that both men had records listing charges of robbery, burglary, and assault with a deadly weapon. A check through our file showed that neither of them had been involved in narcotics operation before. We checked their friends and the places they were known to frequent. Every place we went, we ran into the same wall. Nobody had talked to us. The following day, we met with Hugo Kenley again and outlined a plan to introduce me as a narcotic buyer from out of town. Kenley said that it'd take some time to make the arrangements, and we set up another meeting for Saturday, January 15th. Frank and I began to make plans for my going underground. I established residence at one of the better hotels in downtown Los Angeles. Through Captain Walters, I was able to obtain the money necessary to put up the front. Friday night, Frank and I met in the hotel bar to go over the final details of the operation.
Anything from Hugo yet?
No. The way we left it, he's going to call in the morning.
I don't like it, Joe.
You know, if there was another way, I'd take it.
I still think we ought to keep a tail on you.
No, the way Hugo's laid these fellas out, they'd spot it for sure. Anything goes wrong, they'd be gone before you could come in anyway.
Yeah. The skipper doesn't think it's good either.
Neither do I, Frank. If you got an idea how we can pull it off without taking the chance, let me know, will you?
Yeah.
All right, let's go over it again.
Okay.
We lay it out that I got to see the stuff before I buy, the usual thing.
Yeah.
Once they show, I call you.
Mm-hmm. I've got the money.
That's right. You hustle over to where we make the meet.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if I get the chance to call before the buy, I will. Otherwise, you'll know I got hung up.
Okay. I'll be home. You got the number?
Yeah. As soon as I have any information, I'll try to get it to you. You can relay it to the skipper, all right?
How are we going to know if there's trouble?
When I phone, if I use your first name, you'll know everything's all right.
Yeah.
If I call you Smith, don't waste any time. Get there and get there as fast as you can.
Okay.
You got the ID for me?
Okay.
What do you got?
Well, here's the driver's license. A couple of hotel receipts from up north, all made out to Jerry Whitner.
Jerry Whitner.
Mm-hmm. Here's some letters, phone book.
Where'd you get the numbers?
Jules Zimmerlin dug them up.
Huh.
Bars, hotels, a couple of places that ran a book in the Bay Area.
Looks all right.
Yeah. I hope it works.
Anybody from the office in the hotel?
Yeah. Luke's in the lobby. They took one of the rooms on your floor. A couple of men there. We've got the place covered as much as we can.
Mm-hmm.
As long as you're inside, we can see you. As soon as you go through the door, you're by yourself.
You continue to make it sound good, don't you?
Not leaving anything out, Joe.
Yeah.
You going to have dinner here at the hotel?
I figured to. There's no reason to leave.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm going back to the office.
All right. See you in the morning.
I'll be here.
Okay.
As soon as I hear you left the hotel, I'll get home and wait to hear from you.
Yeah.
Try to keep us posted, huh?
Yeah, well, this isn't the first time, Frank.
Well, it looks like the roughest, though.
Comes off, it'll be worth it. 3 kilos. Pure heroin. You know what that's worth?
I don't know what they think.
Yeah.
I know what it's going to cost you.
The next morning at 8:46 a.m., I got a call from Hugo Kenley. He said he'd set it up for me to meet the 2 men. I was to pick him up at the corner of 7th and Broadway, and then together we'd drive to Milo Goff's. I went down to the lobby of the hotel and made arrangements to rent a car. As soon as it was delivered, I put in a call to the office and told them what had happened. After that, I left and picked up Kenley. He directed me to drive down the Harbor Freeway and then turn off onto Figueroa and on down to Imperial Highway. On the way, he said that he told Goff and Franzen that I'd gotten into town from San Francisco and was in a position to take their entire supply of heroin. From what he said, the deal looked good. We cut off Imperial and turned left to Grand Avenue. Kenley told me to turn north and drive to the corner of Grand and 113th Street. We parked the car and walked the remaining half block. The house was well kept, white stucco. In the front yard, there was a child's tricycle and a playpen. We went up onto the porch and rang the bell.
Come on in. Milo, this is Jerry Whitner, the fellow I told you about. Hi, Jerry. Glad to know you.
Yeah.
Sit down.
Thank you.
Get you anything? Drink, cup of coffee?
No, nothing for me.
Where's Drew? Not to get up for breakfast.
This your house?
You don't even know that.
Not important.
Well, let's just keep it that way.
Okay, let's deal.
You're in a hurry, aren't you?
I don't have a lot of time.
If you want to go too fast.
If I buy, it's the way it's going to be.
Not with us.
Okay, see you later.
How about the money?
As soon as you show the H, I'll make a call. Scratch will be delivered.
You won't have it with you?
Oh, you're out of your head. You know me better than that. I'm not going to carry a pocket full of money around so somebody can walk off with it.
Mm.
Where do we make the meet?
You get a call.
When?
Day after tomorrow.
Nothing you can do to speed it up.
Nothing.
Okay, I'll hear from you.
Yeah.
This going to be the place?
We'll tell you that, too.
You play it pretty tight, don't you?
You want to stay in the game.
Yeah. You want to go back with me, Hugo?
Sure. No reason you have to leave, is there?
Nothing to keep me.
Okay, have it your way.
I usually do.
You talk big, Whitner.
It's the way I work, too.
You got a big mouth.
Now, look, punk, I don't like this deal. None of it. You can't deliver. You don't know for sure when the stuff is going to be ready. You talk big, but it don't fit. I've seen cheap operators like you before. Don't make any difference to me how you talk, but you better be able to come through. Anything goes wrong with this deal, and I'm going to come looking for you, fella.
You scare me.
The only reason I even talk to you is I think maybe you got something to sell. If it's what you say, I want it.
You got the money, we can make a deal.
Let's leave it there. Come on.
Yeah. We'll give you a call.
You do that. Don't make it later than you said.
Keep the money handy. We get through with this, I want to get out of town. I got a date Monday night. I want to keep it.
You will. I went back to the hotel and waited. Monday morning, I got another call from Hugo to tell me that the meet was to take place in the hotel lobby at 10:45 a.m. From there, we'd go to where the buy would be made. I got in touch with Frank and told him what had happened. He said the hotel was covered, also the house on Grand Avenue. He went on to say that other officers would be standing by for my call to bring the money. As soon as the buy was made, all of the people in the place would be placed under surveillance in the hope that either Goff or Franzen would lead us to the head man in the operation. 10:36 a.m. I went downstairs and met Hugo Kenley and Milo Goff. We talked for a few minutes while we waited for Franzen to show up. Goff told me that the buy would be made in an apartment out in the Hollywood area.
As soon as Franzen gets here, we'll shove up.
I got time to make a call.
To who?
Man with the money. Tell him to stand by.
You got to be told?
You want the money, don't you? I want to make sure he's there.
Go ahead.
I'll be right back.
Go with you.
All right, come on. Got a dime?
Yeah. Here.
Thanks.
Make it snappy. Now, here comes Francis.
Just take a minute.
Where you been? Had to see the man. Get the package.
As soon as Jerry finishes here, we can move.
This the guy?
Yeah, why?
You bonehead. Dumbest trick I ever heard of.
What do you mean?
All right, mister, put your hands down by your side. Make a move and I'll blow your spine out.
What are you doing? What's wrong?
This friend of yours.
What about him?
I know him. He's a cop.
Drew Franzen told me to stand up slowly, and when I did, he moved in and took my gun away from me and directed me to move out of the phone booth and across the lobby to the hotel. I did as I was told.
Keep your head front, cop. Walk a line.
You got it wrong.
No, I haven't. You're May. I ran into you a couple of years ago. You hung a pinch on a friend of mine. Name's Friday, isn't it? Joe Friday?
You're doing the talking.
I didn't have any part in it, friends, and you got to believe that.
You make it hard.
Where are we going?
Outside. After that, we'll tell you.
You know you're not going to make it.
I don't see anything to stop us.
From here, I can see 5 guns.
You've been using bad stuff.
All right.
Keep moving.
Take him, Roxy.
Hold it right there, Francis.
Get your hands off of me, cop.
Come on.
I'll take that gun, Franzen.
You think you're pretty smart, don't you, cop?
You figure. I'm not going to jail. Suspects were searched, and then they were taken to the First Street station. In Franzen's pocket, we found a check from a parking lot. Sergeant Roxy Lucarelli and his partner checked it out. And going over the car, they found the heroin. Frank came into the office, and we talked to Drew Franzen for over an hour without getting anything out of him. He was booked in at the main jail. 12:14 p.m. We had Milo Kenley brought to the interview room.
Isn't going to do you any good, you know.
Is that right?
Sure, I'm not going to tell you anything.
You don't have to. We know you plan to set up a distributing organization.
No, you ought to write this.
We sent a couple officers out to your place. They found a list of names.
I got a lot of friends.
Most of them have narco records.
I like different people.
We're going to talk to all of them.
Call first. Some of them move around.
You'll tell us nothing, huh?
What I got to say you've had.
Okay, but I want to tell you something.
I can't turn it off. Go ahead.
You know, when I first met you, I thought you were pretty smart. Looks like I was all wrong.
Yeah?
You got to be thick in the head to take a beat by yourself.
It won't be long.
You better check the Narcotic Act again with the new laws. We got enough on you to lose the key and the cell number.
Yeah, well, we'll see how it comes out in court.
You're going to be there all by yourself.
What about Francis?
He's out.
What do you mean?
Just what I said. He isn't here.
Well, where is he?
I wouldn't know.
Is this true?
Left here about 20 minutes ago.
Bail, huh? Is that how he made it? Well, it won't hurt to tell me that.
He isn't here. All we got is you.
Well, what about me? Nobody put up bail for me?
I didn't see a line anywhere, did you?
You're not lying.
We don't even have to talk to you, fella. I just figured that you wouldn't want to stand all by yourself.
You sure got good friends, Goff.
Who sprung him?
I don't know.
Well, the guy had to leave a name.
Maybe. We didn't check.
It was Bert. All the odds in the world it was Bert.
Maybe. I told you I don't know.
It had to be. The only one who'd do it.
You'd know that.
Guy didn't say anything about getting me out, huh?
Not to us.
Call somebody with a book. You said you wanted a statement. I'll give it.
I'll check.
Can't figure why he'd do it.
What do you mean?
Bert, he's the man, the guy who set the whole thing up. The only one who'd go bail for friends and the only one. Sat back and didn't want any part of it. Let us do the work, make the connections, plant the pushers and mules. We did it all. He just sat back.
You got any idea where we can pick him up?
Yeah. Still doesn't make sense. Why'd he leave me here?
You keep asking the same question. I don't know.
Lousy deal. Leave me to stand for it by myself. A real chintzy.
Sure is.
Big Bert. Sitting in his house while we do the work. Taking the biggest cut. Everything's the best with him. Best house. Best car. Best clothes. All his suits tailor-made.
That's so.
Yeah. He won't put a suit on his back it isn't special made.
They'll find something that'll fit him.
The story you have just heard is true. The names were changed to protect the innocent.
On June 14th, trial was held in Department 97, Superior Court of the State of California, in and for the County of Los Angeles. Milo Harold Goff, Drew Walter Franzen, and Bert Michael Lorimer were tried and convicted of violation of the State Narcotic Act, a felony, and received sentence as prescribed by law. Violation of the State Narcotic Act, a felony, is punishable by imprisonment for a period of not less than 10 years in the state penitentiary.
You have just heard Dragnet, the authentic story of your police force in action, and starring Jack Webb, a presentation of the United States Armed Forces Radio Service. Dragnet.
Ladies and gentlemen, the story you are about to hear is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent. You're a detective sergeant. You're assigned the burglary detail. For the past month, a hot prowl artist has been working the Silver Lake district in your city. Your job? Stop him.
Dragnet, the documented drama of an actual crime. For the next 30 minutes, in cooperation with the Los Angeles Police Department, you will travel step by step on the side of the law through an actual case transcribed from official police files. From beginning to end, from crime to punishment, Dragnet is the story of your police force in action.
It was Tuesday, April 12th. It was sunny in Los Angeles. We were working the day watch out of burglary detail. My partner's Frank Smith. The boss is Captain Bernard. My name's Friday. I was on my way back from the business office, and it was 4:31 p.m. when I got to room 45. Burglary.
Been reading about it in the papers. You know, little items here and there. Not front page stuff, but it started me thinking.
Sure. Oh, hi, Joe.
Hi.
Mr. Bircher is my partner, Sergeant Friday.
I do.
How are you, Mr. Bircher?
Pretty good. Except for my feet. They're killing me.
Oh?
That's just a little joke amongst us mailmen, Sergeant. Somebody asks us how we feel, we say our dogs are killing us. It ain't necessarily the truth, but it's what folks expect to hear, so we don't disappoint them.
Yes, sir. What was it you wanted to see us about, Mr. Bircher?
I was just telling your partner here, Smith, is it?
That's right, sir.
Well, I was just telling Mr. Smith my mail route's out in the Silver Lake district.
Uh-huh.
You know, where they've been having them burglaries lately.
Yes, sir.
Sure, it's a shame. Nice part of town, quiet, residential. Nice people, too. Been delivering their mail for the past 12 years.
Is that right?
Get to know folks pretty well in that length of time. Now, you take Mrs. Davenport. Lives in the 700 block on St. George Place.
Yes, sir.
The minute I gave her her mail last Friday, I could tell something was wrong. She didn't even glance at her postcards. That was the tip-off.
Yes, sir.
Told me somebody had sneaked into her house that morning. Stole $20 in cash and her diamond engagement ring. Said she'd left it on the sink when she started doing the breakfast dishes. Went in the other room to answer the phone. That must have been when she was robbed.
Mm-hmm.
You already heard about Mrs. Davenport being robbed, have you?
Yes, sir. We talked to her last week.
Oh, you're the fellas come to see her about it?
That's right.
You had any luck yet?
How's that?
Catching the fellow that robbed her.
No, sir, not so far.
Well, I don't know whether this will help you out or not, but I thought I ought to tell you about it anyway.
About what, Mr. Bircher?
Well, it happened twice to my knowledge. Twice in the last 2 weeks. Once just this morning. That's why I come down here as soon as I got off work.
Mm-hmm.
It was Mrs. Perkins on South Maltman that happened to today. Said she walked down into her kitchen, and there he was, big as life.
Yes, sir.
Stranger. Complete stranger. She asked him what he was doing there. He said he was from the light company. Come to repair her electric stove.
Mm-hmm.
Thing is, Mrs. Perkins don't have an electric stove.
Mm-hmm.
Fellow apologized, said he got into the wrong house by mistake. Mrs. Perkins didn't think nothing about it, and just happened to mention it when I come by with the mail. I didn't think nothing about it either, not at first.
Yes, sir.
Then I remembered same thing happened to Mrs. Johnstone over on Scott Street. 10 days ago. Found a man from the light company standing in her kitchen. She hadn't sent for him either. He said they'd given the wrong address. Now, it just don't stand to reason the light company'd be sending people to the wrong addresses all the time.
No, sir, it doesn't.
Got to thinking about them burglaries. Mrs. Davenport and the ones I read about in the papers. Wondered if there wasn't some connection.
Well, it might be. It's the way a hot prowl artist works.
Hot prowl?
Daytime burglar. Operates when the victim is apt to be in the house.
Oh.
Would you give us their addresses, Mr. Bircher?
Huh?
The two ladies you were telling us about?
You mean that found the fellow from the light company in their kitchen?
Yes.
Mrs. Perkins. She lives on South Maltman, number 201. Mrs. Waldo Perkins, that's her full name.
201. And the other lady?
Johnstone. Mrs. Nellie Johnstone. She's a widow lady. Her address is 1247 Scott Street, corner of Scott and Brandon.
I see. Thank you.
Would you mind showing us just what your mail route covers, Mr. Bircher?
Huh?
On the map over here. Would you come over here?
Oh, sure. Sure.
Here we are.
Starts here.
Mm-hmm.
Down this street like so, then over here. This whole section. These streets here, down here.
Mm-hmm.
This is where I end up.
I see.
Mm-hmm. That's the right area, all right.
Yeah.
Anything else I can do for you?
No, sir, I don't believe so. We appreciate your coming in.
Figured out I ought to help you if I could, seeing as how we both work for the same boss.
How's that?
The taxpayer.
We checked with the utility companies, and they told us that they had made no recent repair calls in the vicinity of the addresses that Mr. Bircher had given us. 5:46 p.m. Frank and I drove out to 201 South Maltman. It was a one-story stucco bungalow set behind a white picket fence.
Well, it's about time you...
Where are the flowers?
Ma'am?
Aren't you from McAdams Flower Shop?
No, ma'am. We're
They
from the...
promised me they'd have them here by 5. Promised faithfully. Oh, you just can't depend on anybody. Well, what is it?
We're police officers, ma'am.
Police?
This is Frank Smith. My name's Friday.
Oh, for heaven's sake.
You, Miss Perkins?
Well, yes, of course. Who do you think I was?
We'd like to talk to you for a minute.
Oh, what on earth about? Please, I'm in an awful hurry. I've got 16 people coming for dinner.
Just a couple of questions, please. It won't take us long.
Oh, all right. I suppose you might as well come in.
Thank you.
It isn't about Waldo.
Ma'am?
My husband. It isn't about him, is it? Not on top of everything else.
No, ma'am.
I don't know whether I'm coming or going. I'm just not up to a big dinner party anymore. I shouldn't have tried.
Yes, ma'am.
We understand you had a visitor this morning, Miss Perkins.
Visitor?
A man who said he'd come to fix your stove.
Oh, yes. Now, how on earth... Oh, that mailman. I ought to know better than to tell him anything. He spreads it all over town.
Yes, ma'am. You hadn't sent for an electrician, had you?
Oh, certainly not. If anything was wrong with my stove, I'd send to the gas company. It's a gas range.
Well, could you describe him for us, please?
Describe him?
That's right.
I don't know what you mean.
Well, what did he look like? Was he tall or short?
Oh, I hardly even looked at him. He's just an ordinary man.
I see. How old would you say he was?
Isn't this kind of foolish?
Well, we aren't sure yet, ma'am. Do you have any idea of his age?
Oh, youngish, I guess. About 30.
Mm-hmm. How was he dressed?
I'm afraid I don't remember.
Well, did he have on a uniform of any kind?
No uniform. Suit, I think. I didn't pay much attention.
No scars, anything like that?
Well, not that I noticed. Might have.
Well, just what did he say to you?
Well, just that he'd made a mistake, that he was in the wrong house, that's all.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any kind of an accent?
No. He sounded like a plain, everyday American to me.
I see.
Do you think you'd recognize him if you saw him again?
Oh, I don't think so. If it had been some other day when I wasn't so busy, when I didn't have so much on my mind...
Yes, ma'am. Did you notice where he went when he left here?
Out the back door.
Did he drive away?
I really haven't any idea. If you're so interested in the poor man, you better talk to Margot.
Margot?
Mrs. Summersby, my next-door neighbor. She was doing some gardening this morning.
I see.
I suppose she saw him, too. There isn't much that gets by Margot. She's a little on the nosy side, if you know what I mean.
Yes, ma'am. Which house is hers?
That one there.
I see.
Now, I've just got to get back to my dinner. I haven't even started the salad yet.
Just one more thing, Miss Perkins.
Well, what is it now?
Is anything missing from around the house?
Missing?
Yes, ma'am. Money or anything of value?
Why, no. No, of course not.
You sure, are you?
What on earth are you driving at? A man makes a perfectly honest mistake. Next thing I know, the police are bothering me. You'd think he was a criminal or something.
I'm sorry we troubled you, Miss Perkins.
I just don't understand it. People come here all the time, day in and day out. Some of them have the right address, some of them have the wrong one. Spend half my life answering the doorbell.
Yes, ma'am.
What's so special about this fellow?
He didn't ring your doorbell. We left Miss Perkins and went over to talk to her next-door neighbor, Mrs. Summersby. Mrs. Summersby told us that she'd spent most of the morning in her garden transplanting begonias. She also said that she remembered seeing a stranger enter Mrs. Perkins' house about 10:30 a.m.
I don't think you noticed me. I was down on my hands and knees behind the hedge.
Mm-hmm.
Remember thinking it was kind of odd the way he just walked in. Then I decided it's probably somebody about the party she's giving tonight. Delivery man, somebody like that.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you see him leave?
A couple of minutes later, he came backing out, headed out toward the front of the house.
Do you have a car?
Well, I suppose so.
You aren't sure?
No, I just assumed he did if he was a delivery man.
Mm-hmm.
Could you describe him for us, Mrs. Summersby?
Doesn't Mrs. Perkins know who he was?
Well, she isn't sure.
Well, she must know what he looked like.
Well, we'd like to check your description against hers, if it's all right.
I suppose she was a bit vague. I'm not surprised. She doesn't have a very sharp eye. She can't see her nose in front of her face.
Is that so?
And the way she's been carrying on about this dinner party, well, it's a wonder to me she even remembered the man.
Yes, ma'am.
You'd think if she could entertain 16 people, 2 more wouldn't be any extra trouble.
How's that?
All her talk about just having friends of her sister's. That's who the party's for. Her sister from Cleveland. They're out here on a visit.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse, that's what it is. To get out of inviting Rex and me. Well, she won't need excuses in the future. Our relationship will be on a somewhat different basis.
Yes, ma'am. Now, if you'll just tell us about the man you saw this morning.
Oh, him.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, he was good size, tall as you are, maybe. A little heavier. Late 20s or early 30s, I'd put him.
Mm-hmm.
Dark hair, needed a haircut. Nice looking. Not real handsome or anything like that, but good looking.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember how he was dressed?
Coat and pants. Don't think they matched. Not too sporty, though.
I see.
Walked real fast, brisk, like he was in a big hurry.
Yes, ma'am. Anything else?
No. No, I can't think of anything.
Has he been around this neighborhood before?
No, a stranger to me.
Would you recognize him if you saw him again?
Don't see why not. Oh, excuse me.
Surely.
Hello? Yes? Oh. That's too bad. Uh-huh. Well, I don't know. Oh? Well, I suppose you do, but... Oh. I see. All right. Bye. Mrs. Perkins.
Is that right?
Says the Barringtons can't come. Mr. Barrington's got virus. Wants me and Rex to fill in at the last minute. Well, if you're all through, Sergeant.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
I'd better start getting ready.
We told Mrs. Summersby to get in touch with us if she saw the suspect in the neighborhood again. We also told her that we might need her assistance in making an identification from mug shots. She offered to do all she could to help us. 6:48 p.m. Frank and I canvassed the vicinity for anyone else who might have seen the suspect. We were unable to turn up another witness. 8:06 p.m. We drove over to Scott Avenue and interviewed Mrs. Nellie Johnstone. Mrs. Johnstone stated that on Monday of the previous week, a strange man had entered her kitchen. He claimed to be from the electric company. He apologized for coming to the wrong address and left immediately. Her description of the suspect tallied with what we already had. The next day, April 13th, we checked the description in the M.O. with the stats office. They came up with 3 possibles. We took the names to R&I and pulled their packages. 12:08 p.m., we went back to the office.
What do you think, Joe?
Well, from these mug shots, it could be any one of them.
Yeah.
I better try for an identification.
Who do you want to start with?
Doesn't matter. Miss Perkins again.
Okay. Wonder how our party went last night.
I got it. Burglary Friday. Where did it happen? Yeah, that's the neighborhood. How long ago? I see. Right, thank you. Looks like we won't need Ms. Perkins. I just brought a lady into Georgia Street who lives out in the Silver Lake district.
Yeah.
Found a man going through a purse in the bedroom, tried to stop him from getting away.
Mm-hmm.
He slugged her. We drove over to Georgia Street Receiving Hospital and talked to Dr. Sebastian. He told us that a Mrs. Violet Castle had been brought in for treatment. He said she had a bad bruise on her face and a slight concussion. He also said she hadn't lost consciousness and was able to talk to us.
Miss Castle?
Yes?
Police officers, ma'am.
Okay.
We'd like you to tell us what happened, if you would.
I told the others when they come to get me.
Yes, ma'am. We'd like to hear from you.
Well, he was just standing there by the dresser. I couldn't imagine where he come from.
Uh-huh.
I didn't say anything for a minute. I was too surprised. He didn't seem to know I was in the room. His back was towards me.
What was he doing?
Well, I couldn't tell, not at first. And then I heard a little snap. Just a click.
Mm-hmm.
I realized he was opening my purse.
Yes, ma'am.
Started fumbling at the things inside. I must have moved or something. Anyway, he looked up, saw me in the mirror.
Mm-hmm.
His eyes opened up real wide, like he was scared. I remember thinking he's more scared than I am.
Did he say anything?
No, sir, not a word. I did all the talking. Told him to put down the purse. Put it down, I said. Tried to sound real sure of myself.
And what happened then?
Dropped the pocketbook, turned around toward me. I don't think he had a gun or anything. If he did, I didn't see it.
Yes, ma'am.
He just started running toward the door. I moved over so as I'd been in his way. Where do you think you're going? I said.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't answer. He just pushed past me. I grabbed at his arm, and that's when he hit me. Here, where the bandage is.
I see.
Must have struck the chair when I fell. The doctor tells me I'm going to have a real bump. Guess everybody will be saying Violet Castle sure got the swell head, huh?
Yes, ma'am.
I didn't faint, though. I thought for a minute I was going to, but I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
I heard him run out of the house like I heard a wild horse's the way he pounded out of there. Managed to get to my feet, made it to the telephone in the hall, and called the police.
Mm-hmm.
They sent an ambulance for me. Got there real quick. First time I ever rode in an ambulance.
Is that right?
Oh, I've had my share of sickness. I've been in hospitals and all that, but I never had an ambulance ride before.
Yes, ma'am.
Siren, too. Siren going all the way down here. Now, I thought I must be pretty bad off. They had to use a siren like that, but the doctor says it's usual.
Mm-hmm.
He told me I'd be up and around again in a few days, be my old self, except for my lump. It'd be a while before a lump like that goes away.
Do you think you could identify the man who hit you, Mrs. Castle?
Identify him?
Well, yes, if we showed you some pictures, could you pick him out?
Right now?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, I'm afraid not.
Oh?
It isn't that I wouldn't know him, you understand, him or his picture. I'm not likely to forget that face.
Well?
Too dark in here for me to look at any pictures. Way too dark. Doctor said they had to leave the blinds down for the time being. Told me not to turn the light on.
I understand.
I'm sorry I can't be more help, but the doctor left strict orders.
Yes, ma'am.
I'll check on it, Joe.
Thank you.
Always leave and following doctor's orders.
Yes, ma'am.
No use paying the doctor unless you do what he tells you. That's how my husband always used to put it.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I'm not paying anything here, am I? But that's what they told me.
Yes, ma'am.
I explained I wasn't a charity case. I got some health and accident insurance. I guess you'd call this an accident, wouldn't you?
Well, I'm not sure. I imagine so.
Dr. Sebastian says it'll be all right. Turn the lights on for a few minutes, Joe.
Okay.
Are you sure it's all right?
Yes, ma'am, said so.
Well, you were so positive before about keeping it dark in here.
Well, a couple of minutes probably won't make any difference, Miss Castle.
Well, the doctor says so.
Yes, ma'am.
Ooh, sure seems bright, don't it?
Yes, ma'am. Now, if you just look through these photos.
I'll do my best. It sure is funny.
How's that?
You get me a quick and having pictures all ready to show me.
Well, we don't know that we've got his picture here.
Well, that's what's so funny.
Ma'am.
This is him, right here.
Mrs. Castle positively identified one of the mug shots we had shown her. Ralph Foster Maple. Maple had done time for burglary. The three ladies we had previously interviewed also identified the suspect's picture. 3:16 p.m. We went back to the office. The crime lab reported that there were no fingerprints or other physical evidence at Mrs. Castle's home. Frank and I checked the phone books and city directories for Maple's address. There was no listing. We ran DMV for a car registration. They had nothing under his name, but they told us that a Mrs. Ralph F. Maple at 317 Himber Street was the registered owner of a late model Nash sedan. 4:48 p.m. We drove out to interview Mrs. Maple.
Yes?
Mrs. Maple?
Yes?
Your husband in?
My husband?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm afraid you've made a mistake.
Oh?
I'm not married. Not anymore.
Oh, I see. You were married to Ralph Maple?
Yes?
We're police officers.
Oh.
Miss Frank Smith, my name's Friday.
What's he done now?
We'd like to get in touch with him, that's all. You mind if we come in?
Give me a minute to send my daughter over to the neighbors. I'd rather she didn't hear this.
We'll have to come in.
Oh, all right. Over here.
Yes, ma'am.
Go out and play, will you, honey? What is it this time? Burglary again?
We're just trying to reach him, Miss Maple. Do you know where he lives?
No.
Is he still in Los Angeles?
I suppose so. He was here a couple of weeks ago. Came by to see Joanne. She's our daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Should have known he was up to something.
Ma'am?
Brought us presents. Expensive presents. Said he had a new job. I didn't really believe him, but I tried to for Joanne's sake.
Did he say what this job was?
Selling. Didn't mention the firm. I suppose he could be a good salesman if he'd try.
Do you have a car?
Told me it was in the shop being repaired. Came up in a taxi cab.
I see.
It's a great one for taxis, Ralph is. Big tipper, too. With somebody else's money. I'm sorry. I guess I sound a little bitter, don't I?
No.
It was my own doing. I knew he was wild when I married him. I thought he'd change. He did. He got worse.
How long you been divorced?
A little over 2 years now. Oh, I waited till he got out of prison. I thought that was my duty. Have a home ready for him to come back to.
Yes, ma'am.
Wouldn't hold down a job. Didn't even try. Well, we'd managed without him while he was in San Quentin. I knew we could do it again. He's supposed to support Joanne. I haven't seen a penny in 6 months. Always brings her a present, though. It's his way of trying to get on the good side.
Mm-hmm. You know any of his friends who might help us locate him?
His friends aren't my friends, Sergeant.
Yes, ma'am.
But you won't have any trouble finding him.
Ma'am?
He'll be here tomorrow.
Oh.
It's Joanne's birthday. He'll bring her something. He'll be here.
Mm-hmm.
I suppose he does love her. In his way. Maybe he loves me, too.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I love him. I was even thinking about us getting back together. If it was true about his new selling job. I guess you never learn, do you?
You're sure he'll be here tomorrow?
He won't miss Joanne's birthday. Ralph's a very thoughtful father, not the kind of man who forgets birthdays and anniversaries.
I see.
Might forget to pay his bills, but that's different.
Yes, ma'am.
It'll be quite a birthday present for Joanne, won't it?
What's that?
Her father getting arrested again.
The next day, Thursday, April 14th, we staked out Mrs. Maple's house. 3:35 p.m. A taxicab pulled up and Ralph Maple got out. He was carrying a large package.
Keep the change.
Thanks, Victor.
Ralph Maple? Police officers, just stand still.
What's going on?
He's light, Jim.
All right, let's go.
Oh, wait a minute. Can't you tell me what this is all about?
We'll let you tell us downtown.
Well, you can't arrest a man without some reason.
Where were you yesterday?
What time?
Let's start with the morning.
Got up, had breakfast, went shopping.
Where?
Department stores, had to buy a present for my daughter. This is it right here.
That take you all morning, did it?
Yeah, most of it.
All right, come on, get in the car.
Well, if you just tell me what it is you want to know.
We want to know about a lady who's in the hospital.
Lady?
Yeah, somebody slugged her yesterday.
You think it was me?
She does. Let's find out if she's right. Come on, Maple.
Okay, she's right.
All right, let's go.
I didn't mean to hit her very hard.
It was hard enough.
Just wanted to get her out of my way.
All right. Get in.
Yeah. Hey, wait a minute, huh? What about this?
What about what?
My little girl's present. It's her birthday.
No.
Well, can I give it to her?
You stay where you are.
What about one of you guys? You could take it up to the door. Hey, it's not hot. You can see for yourself. The store wrapped it, see?
Yeah.
I paid for it myself.
With whose money?
Well, the least you can do is see that she gets it.
Joe?
All right, go ahead.
Here you are.
Be right back.
Sure appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
She's just a little girl, 6 today. Wouldn't understand if there wasn't a present from Daddy.
Yeah.
I never missed her birthday. Even when I was in the joint, I saw to it that she got something.
Yeah.
Wife divorced me a couple of years back. I guess I can't blame her.
Yeah.
Not for divorcing me. Had it coming. She shouldn't have got sole custody, though.
Mm-hmm.
A girl needs a father. Everybody talks about how boys need their old man. The way I see it, a girl needs him more.
And so?
Sure, you know, they're so kind of helpless.
Yeah.
It was on account of her, Joanne. That's the only reason I done it. Little girl's entitled to pretty things. I couldn't afford them, not with the kind of dough that I made.
Yeah.
I had to get the money somewhere. I never stole much, just enough to buy her a few presents. Figured if I didn't, she'd turn against me. Being divorced and all, I figured I had to do more than regular fathers.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have given Dora sole custody. It wasn't fair. She lets me come around and visit whenever I want, but it's sort of like saying Joanne doesn't belong to me anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Judge claimed I wasn't a fit father. How do you like that? Just because a man does a little time, everybody has it in for him afterward.
Yeah.
The idea is say I'm not a fit father.
You know something, Maple? You proved him right.
The story you have just heard is true. The names were changed to protect the innocent.
On August 6th, trial was held in Department 98, Superior Court of the State of California, in and for the County of Los Angeles. Ralph Foster Maple was tried and convicted of burglary in the first degree, assault with intent to do great bodily harm, and received sentence as prescribed by law. Burglary in the first degree is punishable by imprisonment for a period of not less than 5 years. Assault with intent to do great bodily harm is punishable by imprisonment for not more than 5 years in the state penitentiary.
Just heard Dragnet, the authentic story of your police force in action, and starring Jack Webb, a presentation of the United States Armed Forces Radio Service.